Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 231st edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening we have Dave the Hater Lowback, Donny Baseball, Tommy the Guru Allen, and returning, no Penn and Sandy Patterson. You're back with us after a 2-week ban. Glad to be back.
Sunburnt to fuck, mate.
Have you learnt your lesson?
I like to take this opportunity to, I caused some offence there last week, but I like to take this opportunity to apologise to absolutely fucking nobody.
No apologies from
I stole that one from McGregor, obviously,
Taking a leaf out of Conor McGregor's book.
Exactly, mate. Can I beat them, join them?
Excellent stuff, guys. Obviously, first of all, we're going to speak about this big Andre Ward-Sergey Kovalev fight from last night. Ward stopping the beast in the 8th round. We're going to get Donny in first because he has to go on a boat, apparently. Just before you join in, Donny, I'm just going to quickly say my 2 pence worth, if that's okay. Andy was right about Kovalev being weak to the body, basically. The mystique of the beast is busted. Like many fighters of Kovalev's ilk, they thrive on being on top. Once you push them back, once you chop at them, they fade mentally and physically. And that's what's happened to Kovalev last night, unfortunately. Having said that, guys, I accept the winner. I accept Andre Ward's win. But the manner of the win, the way it was achieved, it doesn't sit right with me. Regardless of who was winning at the point of the stoppage, who was coming on or who was fading, I want to see big fights end properly. That ending was bullshit as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying the result wouldn't have been the same if the fight had continued, but we need to reach a satisfactory conclusion. That was not a satisfactory conclusion, in my opinion. Nothing against Ward as a fighter, not devaluing his innate ability to work opponents out, work to a game plan, fight like hell. This guy is a fantastic fighter, but I'm putting my cards on the table. I picked him to win. I wanted Kovalev to win, but the fight was stopped on low blows. Not borderline, Donny. I saw low blows. I saw the hem lifting on the shorts. I thought of Duran Buchanan. Maybe that was a little bit too far. Our friend Stephen and Donald said it was. I've gone on for long enough, Donny. Jump in. Tell me where I'm right or wrong.
Well, I think you're absolutely right that the actual finish itself was from low blows. However, there is no question that the punches that put him in a bad state where he was badly hurt were legal punches. He hurt him once to the body, and then later after that, with that smashing right hand, which he really put his whole body behind to the head, and it hit Kovalev right on the point of the chin, and it definitely rocked him. It definitely shook him up. And then Ward went back to the body. Then Kovalev retreated to the ropes. And here's where it gets a little bit dicey. So Ward hit him with, I believe, about 3 punches when he was up against those ropes. I'm talking now about the very end. The first one seemed to be a belt line shot. And then as Kovalev is doubling over, presumably, because he's doing some good work, Ward, if you will, finishes him with 2 shots straight to the balls. Now, even if you're Tony Weeks, if you believe that those 2 punches were legal blows, I heard people say something like they should have given him a standing 8 count. Just to be clear, there is no standing 8 count as per the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. So there is no standing 8 count. But when he was doubled over like that, and you even saw when he pulled Ward off of him, Kovalev his ass kind of almost went through the ropes a little bit, which means that he was being supported by those ropes. So if you're Tony Weeks and you think that those finishing blows are legal blows, you could have called the knockdown, right? And, and said that the ropes were basically holding him up. And then the fight could have continued, and Ward would have gotten, I think he not only could have gotten, but in fact would have gotten a clean finish. And so it just takes a little bit of the luster off of it for Ward, and then you have to feel for him from that perspective, because I think he was absolutely on the way to a classic finish that I think like they were saying on HBO last night, trainers would be telling their fighters about that for decades. I think that that's true because very rarely do you see finishes where somebody goes to the body. That's sort of a real boxing purist's sort of dream, is like when you see someone finish someone so clinically like that, and by sort of viciously attacking the body. So I thought it was a great finish, but Tony Weeks took away and took some of the luster off of what I thought should have been, basically a win for Ward that nobody could even take anything away from. I'm not taking anything away from it, but some people, including some people on this pod who I know you're going to hear from shortly, are dissatisfied with it. So that's basically where I stand out. I think the Ward clearly is the number one pound for pound fighter in boxing as a result of this, and I think he clearly, you know, I think that there's not really anybody on his level right now. That was an amazing performance.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you. Yeah, I mostly agree with you, Donny. Ward was on top, but I wanted to see a clean finish. Tommy, how did you see it?
I don't know what to say about that fight last night, to be honest. Andre Ward, he's constantly through low blows right for the start of the fight. Tony Weeks, if you watch a fight back, Tony Weeks, he's pulled him up on 3 occasions for low blows before the 8th round. Okay, now, I had Sergey ahead in the fight. I had him ahead maybe a couple of rounds. It's just corruption. It's corruption right through. If you look at if even going back to when the fight was in the build up, right? We had Sergey wanted neutral judges after what happened in the first fight. Most people felt Sergey won the first fight. He didn't get it. Andre Ward wasn't going to fight if there was neutral judges in it. He wanted his own judges. He wanted the deck loaded in his favour. Now last night we seen the deck was loaded in his favour. The judges at the time of the stoppage, just to touch on that, they actually had Andre Ward ahead in the fight. Who could have had Ward ahead in that fight? That to me that's mind boggling. But anyway, to go into the fight itself again, as I says, he had three warnings prior to that, right? Now, before he got hurt with the right hand, Kovalev, there was a shot landed. I don't know if it was low. I'm not going to say it's low. I don't know. I'm not sure. It kind of looked borderline. I don't know if it was low. I don't know if it was legal. But I don't think Sergey Kovalev's. I don't think he's the kind of fighter that's going to complain if it wasn't a low blow. Now that shot bored him, and a couple of shots bored him as well. Now he was hurt for that. Andre Ward landed the right hand that staggered him. We seen him going back to the ropes, right? The first shot looked okay, the body shot. Then there was 2 blatant low blows, as you said, Steve. To me, after 3 warnings, Tony Weeks is standing. He's got a perfect position to see this. Now, after the 3 warnings, the only thing to do at that point was take a point off Andre Ward and give Sergey Kovalev 5 minutes recuperation time, as the rules state, after low blows. He's waved the fight off. It was a terrible, even if those shots were not low, it was a terrible, terrible stoppage. It's corruption right through. I say it quite a lot these days. You never. It's never the away fighter. It's never a away fighter that gets the rubbery green. It's always a home fighter. This is corruption. It's no anything else. You should have had a point deduction. Ward and Kovalev should have been given 5 minutes. Now, people are saying that Ward would have won anyway. We've seen fighters come back from much worse than that. We've seen Kelly Pavlik, for an example, against Jermaine Taylor, Anthony Joshua just recently against Vladimir Klitschko. Nobody can turn around and say that if the rules had been adhered to and the point was taken off and he was given 5 minutes, that Sergey Kovalev couldn't have came back into the fight. He was winning the fight with most people's cards, apart from the judges, but that fight was not dead in the water, and if the rules had been implemented, we don't know what would have happened in the fight. I think it's disgusting. I thought he got robbed in the first fight, and I think he got cheated again last night.
Yeah, Andy, as Tommy alluded to there, Ward was putting on the pressure, but it was maybe suspect pressure, touching on at times illegal pressure. You're a great man for a scorecard, Andy. How did you have it scored at the time of the stoppage?
I have it quite close. I think I had the same as Tommy. I think about a couple of rounds or something. I wasn't really kind of scoring. It was a kind of close fight. I noticed Paulie Malignaggi actually was going full frotch. He was scoring even rounds. He scored the first round and round 5, I think, 10-10. I mean, I thought Kovalev won that first round pretty clearly, just for the jab. He was putting Ward off, off on the back foot. I think if you're going to give Ward some of the kind of earlier rounds and that, then you've got to basically like some of his shots. Now, I remember, like, for example, there was a left hook quite early doors. He led with that. He started a couple of rounds early. I mean, okay, you could say that Kovalev was putting the pressure on. The jab was probably was his key weapon. He was leaping in, obviously, with the right hand and trying to get the left in behind it. But you could say that maybe some of Ward's counter shots were class. I mean, the right hand in the 8th round, it was. I mean, I've never seen Kovalev rock that before. I know I've said, probably going back even before the Pascal fights, I did think that Kovalev was hiding a bit of glass to the body. There was some legal body shots in there for Ward over the course of the fight, especially around the back. It was about round 7. But I think it was about round 7 as well. I did notice that there was at least 2 or 3 really on the borderline. If you look at Tony Weeks before the fight, he did say that the white band on Kovalev's trunks, I think I had the Crusher sign on it, and then below that I had the Hublot sponsor. Now, for what I remember, Weeks did say that was, the white borderline was the limit. So there was a couple of shots did land in round about that area in the 7th. And I did say as well as maybe they weren't always catching them on the cock and balls, but you get hit round about that area, it's putting pressure on the bladder. I don't know, maybe Kovalev felt like he needed to go for a piss or whatever. I think it could be. Was it the 3rd round? I think he got caught the first time. Technically, he could have been given 5 minutes there, but he chose to kind of fight one after about 30 seconds. Weeks he missed the second one, and then obviously the 3rd one for the stoppage. He missed that one out, but the right hand from Ward was a cracker. As I said, I've never seen Kovalev like that before. He didn't really fire back at that point. It was more about kind of like survival. But that's when some of the kind of more kind of lower punches were coming in. But as I says, Ward did land some legal shots to the body. As I says as well, for a long time, I don't think Kovalev likes it to the body. I think it kind of proved it there last night. Now, the shots, I had to wait to see the HBO broadcasters because I've never seen it on Sky because they showed 2 bad angles. The last 2 left hands Ward were definitely round about the cock and balls area. Okay, he was bent over. As Donnie alluded to as well, I think it's pretty much spot on. If you look at the shot, the last one that Ward lands, Kovalev's instantly grimacing and he's sitting on the ropes. So you could essentially say, bare minimum, he was due an 8 count because the ropes held him up. As Tommy says as well, Weeks had a perfect view of that to basically pick up on that. He could say that, Kovalev was bent over in pain, he wasn't thrown back, hence the reason that's the way you stop the fight. But at the same time as you've got like a guy here fighting for the title of the world, you got to give him every chance. He's fucked it up, and for a guy like Weeks' experience, I remember Floyd Mayweather was pissed off with him after the first fight against Chino Maidana. I think Weeks works in a state penitentiary, and he's dealing with like fucking mad situations every day. So you think you'd be able to manage it properly? He had a perfect view of it. He should have called at least another 2 low blows. He told Kovalev to fight on. I don't know what's going to be the outcome of this appeal. I don't think we'll see a 3rd fight. I didn't want to see a 3rd fight anyway, to be honest with you. No straight away. The sanction bodies might decide, they want to get involved and start pulling titles and stuff. But it was as I said, I think Ward was starting to get on top of him. Whether Kovalev would come back in it, I don't know. Maybe he was slightly gassed again. I don't know, but. Some of those shots he was taking quite low does have an effect on you. As I says, if you start kind of hitting around about the bladder area and stuff like that, you feel like you want to go for a piss, so you maybe starting to feel a wee bit sick and stuff, and it fucks your wind up. And as I say, if you look at Kovalev, he wasn't thrown back, and as the shots were coming in, as I say, there's absolutely no way about it. He was low blowed, and he should have been given bare minimum, the 8 count for the ropes holding him up, and he definitely should have maybe had the 5 minutes as well. So.
There was 5 blatant low blows in that fight. There was 3, as I said, Weeks had 2 of them up for 3 before it, and they were low. And there was 2 at the finish. I don't know. I just don't understand how there was no points off and Sergey was getting the 5 minutes. That to me is mind-boggling, man. I can't comprehend that.
So what you're saying then, Tommy, is it wasn't like the finish was unexpected. It wasn't like it was without precedent the rounds before. Do you think that Weeks was maybe thinking Kovalev was making a meal of it or something?
I'm not sure. Maybe that was in his fault, because to be fair, Sergey was looking into him that maybe he didn't have a good view of the initial low blow in that round that Sergey said was a low blow before the right hand landed, and he maybe thought that Sergey was trying to con it, but I don't know how he could have missed the 2 in the ropes. He was standing right in front. He was looking at it. A blind man can see the punches are low. It's mind-boggling, man. To me, it's corruption.
Malinagi even said the same.
Exactly, and he always backs up the American fighters. You know what I mean? He's a Ward fan himself. Anybody could see it was low. I don't know how the rules weren't enforced. The rules are clear. You get 2 or 3 chances, then a point comes off, and every time there's a low blow, you get a 5-minute rest. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. There's no, he stopped the fight. You can't do that.
You did raise a good point there, Andy. I've always thought to myself, what happens if you're in a fight and the next thing you know, you start to take a few body shots and all of a sudden you feel the old stomach rumbling, and before you know it, you need to drop a log?
Hey, well, to be honest, who was it? Was it Mickey Ward, I think he said, when he took a shot off Gatti, and I think one of his bollocks was spilt out the one side, and I think he said he went back to the corner after the 5th round and actually pissed his pants.
My go-to story is always Andrew Sixheads Lewis, who once left the ring rather than shit himself.
Well, to be honest, does SOG now stand for son of Galata, What were these?
Well, you know what? Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
No, I was just going to say, just wondering if anybody watched the HBO broadcast. I mean, I seen the.
I watched it, mate. Aye.
What did they say? What did they say about the two low shots?
They didn't really say much. Roy Jones and Kellerman were fucking. They were on Ward's nuts. They were on Ward's nuts all night, man.
Right.
The only one that was fair was fucking Harold Weatherman.
Wait no, Donny. See the two shots on Sky weren't conclusive, but as I say, the shot that I saw on HBO was definitely clear that shot landed low. So how the fuck? How can Kellerman go up into the ring and say that we're borderline?
No, because you're an Andre Ward fan. He loves Andre Ward. That's his friend.
I'll tell you why. Because
go on, Donny.
Well, no. The simple reason is that now the winner of this fight is going to be one of the basically the stars of the network, right? I mean, now that's the HBO is going to be building on the winner of this fight. If they make it look like the result is illegitimate, then it's not going to be very good for business. So I think that they were trying to give Ward credit, and that's what networks do. You get some bullshit with them. You get a scoop of bullshit along with your boxing, and so you get that on Sky, and it's no different over here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I may be able to come back later. I'm not sure, but anyways, happy Father's Day to all the fathers and the listener and all the fans and everything, and everybody on this panel as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Donny. We love and appreciate you.
Cheers, Donny.
Yeah, cheers.
Much love. I was going to say, is anybody actually entertaining any idea that maybe Kovalev shot the bed later last night?
Well, literally.
After
the fight.
Just, could have been, aye.
See, the thing is, he didn't protest. I mean, I'm in both camps here. Like, on one hand, I was very impressed with what Ward did. I thought the stoppage was bad. I thought he should have probably at least given him a knockdown and kept it going. But Kovalev didn't protest. I think he might have. I'm not going to say quit, but I think he might have been okay with it. I think he was really feeling it, and he was even like eating that. He looked like he wanted out of there to me.
Hater, I want to hear a bit more from you. Just regarding that quitting, I thought Kovalev looked a little bit drained, and he was mentally struggling in the 8th round. He looked like he was bordering on a Galata-style meltdown, Dave, perhaps.
Well, I thought last night maybe he's coming in as too emotional, because he did look like furious, and before he was furious about the first fight. He was furious about. He just doesn't like Ward, and he's furious about how Ward has not been promoting this because Kovalev's the one getting the percentage of the pay-per-view and all that. He really does not like Ward, and Ward's in his head, and every little dirty thing that Ward did, nothing too serious, but it was just a further aggravation to the fire. And I think that definitely high emotions like that cause you to gas quicker. I think we've seen that in several fights. And he was fucked after like 4 rounds, maybe.
Yeah.
I said on HBO last night, I'm sure it was after 4 rounds. It might have been 5 that Kovalev, at that point in the fight, he had threw 150 more punches compared to the first fight. So he was definitely tired. I'm not disputing that. I think he was tired in that as well. I'm not saying 100% he'd have won the fight, man. But come on, we all saw what fucking happened last night. Let's call it like it is, yeah.
Well, I thought the rematch was a wee bit more intriguing than the first fight. It was a wee bit more exciting. But if you looked, I looked at quite a few of the videos and stuff, and I did think that the way Sergio was training for the fight, Sergio was training for the fight, was basically go out there and make every punch that he threw count and fucking smash the guy. Maybe he did throw too many punches in the gas, but did anybody catch the video? Don Turner, was it of Dante boxing?
No.
He was basically saying like the camp that they had was shite. I think John David Jackson might even alluded to it as well. And Don Turner was saying that he's all he is a fucking puncher. Which, for an assistant trainer as well, man, for that team, his own team saying that he's just a puncher, and Miro thinking, okay, he's a wee bit more kind of bows to his game. That's and Don Turner's been a ruin about the block for a long time, and if he's saying that, there's something fucking wrong. Like,
well, Andy, let's just focus on the corner situation. I mean, I think you'll agree with me. Kovalev needs to split with John David Jackson. I'm not blaming Jackson, not blaming Kovalev, either party, but it's clearly not a functional relationship. I mean, they need to part ways.
Probably not anymore, mate. I think the trust probably gone there. I did think, okay, it was a loyalty was showed by actually staying in the end, but he did entertain the offer depends how you are as a person that you accept that. But I think Kovalev was quite clear in his some of the stuff that he said, that all he did was he was the mitts, so he was basically the guy who held the mitts. He was there to try and get his timing sorted down and just basically work on some combinations. But either way, it does look like I don't know. It looks like for the outside looking in, and off Don Turner's comments, that camp's probably been a complete mess. So I would think even after the comments, I think we're going to see some. Well, it depends what Sergio's going to do. Is he going to keep fighting? But if he does, I think we're going to see a change of the guard here, especially in the background.
Tommy, let's just have a look at what was happening before the contentious stoppage. I have a few notes here. Ward had a noticeable advantage in speed. When they threw together, Ward was finding the target quicker, which was culminated in that big right hand that hurt Kovalev. Kovalev, I thought, was getting caught coming out of the clinches. He wasn't fast enough of feet to get out of there, and he was also napping at the start of rounds as well. He got caught cold, at the beginning of a few of the rounds. Saying that, his jab was working lovely to the head, to the body. It was something that he wasn't doing in the first fight as much as the rounds progressed. But Ward did a tactically impressive job, Tommy. He managed to neutralise Kovalev's jab. He managed to work him out. What do you think about those tactical observations?
I think you're spot on, mate. Ward was definitely sharper guy. His timing was spot on last night. I thought he looked much better last night than he did in the first fight. As you see, Kovalev's jab, Kovalev's jab's always going to be there. It's probably one of the best weapons in boxing. I think Bernard Hopkins alluded to it. He says it's quick, it's quick, and it feels like a power shot. But Ward did the business last. The thing with Ward, he is a tremendous fighter, man. But I saw the bullshit that goes with him. I like him. I liked him a lot after he beat Carl Froch. But if you even go back to the Kessler fight with the guy, I can't moaning a lot, but if you go back to the Kessler fight, he done Kessler with headbutts, man. The guy, he's notoriously a dirty fighter. He was getting away with it last night, and he just kept doing it because the referee was letting the referee was never going to do anything to him, man. It was. I'm pissed off with this. I really thought that Kovalev won the first fight. I felt strongly about that. I had him about 3 rounds, man. I couldn't see 7 rounds in that fight that Andre won, especially when the 3 judges gave him the 10th round. And seeing that again last night, man, it's just, to me, it leaves a bad taste. See if I'd have been in reverse, and Kovalev had done it, and Ward had been robbed in the first fight, I genuinely would have said this, would be saying the same thing right now, but it pisses me off, man. Especially at the top of the sport, like that, going for a pound for pound #1 spot. It's unforgivable, and it happens in America all the time, man. I mean, see, Americans, they like to talk about that they get a raw deal everywhere else, and that is the most corrupt place in boxing, bar none. It's worse in Germany, it's worse in Italy, it's worse in the UK. It's the worst place going.
Yeah, Tommy, just to come in a bit further, Tommy, he's a lineal champion now, apparently. They've
gave him the ring belt. See, what that was is because they never let him really. They never really they never given the pound for pound spot after the first fight, so they're trying to overcompensate now with getting the ring belt. Adonis Stevenson's a lineal champion. There's no doubt about that. He's not a good champ. He's not a good champion, but at the end of the day, he's still the champion, isn't he?
He certainly is. I'm just going to read this message out that we had from Richard Swig, and then I'm going to bring Rob Kelly, who's joined us on the line. Richard Swig says, I thought it was a defensible decision to give the first fight to Ward, even though I disagreed on second and third viewing. I really enjoyed the controversy over the first fight because it stirred debate and there were really good points made on both sides, but he feels deflated after this one. Rob Kelly, you don't feel deflated at all, do you, man? Take it away.
He loved that shit.
Oh yeah, I was loving that. No, but I tell you what, right? It's mainly because of guys like Steve Kim and Dan Rayfield that I feel like this, because I think that somebody should stick up for the pure boxers, regardless of how much of a mope Ward is. Like, I thought he boxed better this fight than the last fight. He kind of did some things that I expected him to do in the body. I thought Kovalev's fighting on the inside actually worked against him a little bit because he looked a bit more frantic in there. And in the first fight, when he was in the clinch, he looked like he was resting a little bit. This time he was coming off, kind of more frantic and frenzied. I thought the shots were borderline. Just, you know what I mean? I think if anyone got robbed, Ward maybe got robbed at the ending that he deserved, because he put on a great performance. I had him maybe 1 round behind. Thought he had a very strong 7th round. I thought Kovalev looked a bit spent after the 7th round. Thought he'd blown a gasket again. And, Ward, when he, regardless of the two borderline shots to start the momentum, followed it with the right hand over the top. And look, he tried to get the crusher out of there. Like, a lot of people would have scored that right hand and figured that they're getting back into the fight, and people would have maybe expected Ward to go that way, but he went for it. And his shot selection was good. He went downstairs, and I think Kovalev was spent, and it was just going to be, Ward was going to win wider. But it is a pity that the referee should have counted, and he is a champion, so he should be given a chance to, or a former champion rather, so he should be given a chance to beat the count. But yeah, happy for Cathy Duva too. She can get her towel now. Somebody can give Cathy Duva her towel. So no, it was a great fight between two great fighters. What more can you ask for? It was a bad ending, but I think the better fighter won the fight.
Rob, what I want to see next is them go their separate ways. I want to see Kovalev fight Beterbiev, Ward fight Stevenson, and then the winners come back together. What do you think about that plan?
I think Ward's going to say to himself, I've had two fights with Kovalev now. I don't see the reason for a third. Let me run up, capture a cruiserweight title from Tony Bellew. That's what I think he's going to do.
Question: does anybody believe that Ward would beat Usyk? I think he does.
Yeah,
he beats him for me as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of. I always said I thought Ward would beat anyone 160 to 175, and never really looked north of that. But I'm happy. I hope he gets some credit for the fashion of the performance, if not the ending. I hope he does that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Great night.
Said it for long enough. I really do think Ward's going to retire undefeated. I've been on record numerous times saying that. I think he's going to do it this time. If he's got the cruiserweight by the way, he might, he's just going to cement his legacy even further. See, to be honest, you can shit on him all you want. His resume, especially the other part of his career, it's been pretty much good by today's standards, at least.
Like, yeah, I agree with you. Like, look, it's Sergey Kovalev we had hurt last night. You know what I mean? It's the crusher. It's the guy we thought was unbreakable, like a real life Drago. And okay, some of the shots were south of the border or whatever, but he was putting it on him, man. You got to give it to him to go after him for the finish too. Once he had him hurt, I thought that showed real character and real grit. So, who's going to beat him now? Who beats Ward? Like, Stevenson doesn't beat him.
I said that a couple of weeks ago. For me, Beterbiev is the best fighter in the 175 division. I know nobody agrees with me, but that's on me. I've said that for a long time. I said for a long time that Beterbiev would beat Kovalev as well. I've said for a long time that he'd not Kovalev it.
I think that's a dangerous fight for Ward.
Straight lines fighter. I think Ward fucking schools him.
I don't know. I think Beterbiev beats him.
We need to see Beterbiev some more. Against
the thing about him, he's not got time on his side. He needs to get the big fights now, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mean, Kovalev himself is 34. I mean, we could be seeing him on the decline now. Even though I thought he did pretty well last night, despite obviously losing badly.
I didn't get it. I didn't catch the early part of the show, but I'm assuming we went back to, like, Andy was Nostradamus of this about him being brittle to the body before, but I think we saw signs of it in the.
I think it was the Agnew fight.
Agnew, it was, yeah.
Agnew, aye.
Yeah, and then the Chilemba fight too. I think he was like, I'm wondering. I know I said in the chat there during the week, does he have problems making 75? But I'm wondering, in his last 3 performances, he's looked dead after 6 rounds. Kovalev against Chilemba, against Ward twice. Maybe there's something with him making a weight, because he is fairly huge. Like, isn't he? I know he's 6 foot and the two of them are the same size, but like, he looks like he rehydrates to bigger. So
yeah. Boys, stay on the line. We're going to have a brief change of pace here. Terry Dooley's jumped on by popular demand. I think he's going to talk about StubHub and that. Just before you do, Terry, welcome to the show. Do you want to give us a brief sound check by telling us what you thought about the Kovalev-Ward fight?
Hi, can you hear me, mate?
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been talking about the fight all day pretty much online, apart from when I went out to the park to get a bit of sunshine. But I thought the stoppage was fair. Some people get the referee should give a standing A count, but you can't give a standing A count. So if that would have been the situation, the referee opens himself up to allegations of corruption, because if he gives, I could say it's on cooking. Hopefully that's not the case in this fight. If it happened in the UK or whatnot, that might cause a problem. I've looked at the fight a couple of times, and I just thought from the fifth, it didn't look like he was in the fight at all, mentally or physically. I mean, he was still there and he was still throwing punches. It just didn't look like the same fight that we saw in the first fight as well. So maybe that's something to do with him. Maybe it's something he needs to address. I mean, he did cop a few low blows, but I think a couple of the body punches he took early in the fight, not making a meal of that, looking to the referee, it sets up a narrative whereby the referee might think you're the boy who cries wolf, and it just makes it hard for you. I think when the actual stoppage came, not a couple of the lads I was talking to Shep, or maybe I was a bit rude to Shep and the lads online today, but you've got to bear in mind I was up till 6 o'clock. Got to put out so gnarly as fuck. But I just thought the stoppage was one of those. I thought he couldn't give him a count because the ropes were holding him up. I thought he was creased up. Momentum was a bit leaning forward. He wasn't on the ropes away. I would see a fighter on ropes and give him standing 8 count or give him a count itself. So I just thought whatsoever. I've mentioned a few times online today, I'm a big Jermaine Taylor fan. And a few times in Jermaine Taylor's career, most notably the Kelly Pavlik fight, particularly the Carl Froch fight, he showed a complete lack of ring intelligence.
Yeah.
He didn't take a knee, he didn't do himself any favours. And I'm not saying referees are perfect, but actually you get a lot of footballers and fighters now. There's a lot of gamesmanship going on, and the referees are kind of struggling to keep up with the stuff that's going on in the gamesmanship and what's going on with the fighters. And I actually think Tony Weeks is a decent referee. I just think that he was on the blind side for a couple of the low blows, and the narrative that you fully see, he was fading. It just looked like he wasn't. I mean, you should have been. You're not going to enjoy a boxing match because you're in there getting punched by a pretty big guy. The fight just faded out of him after the 5th round. I know I've taken a bit of stick online saying that he was gone after the 5th round, but after the 5th round, I just thought this fight is done and dusted. He can put Ward on his arse, or that's a massive round when he bars Ward and tell him to post. I just couldn't see Kovalev doing anything in the fight. So when the stoppage came a few times since, and I appreciate that people have different perspectives on the stoppage, I thought it was a fair stoppage, and I thought according to the rules, the stoppage was, I can't really see cause for the rematch. And to be honest, I mean, I know people are going to disagree, particularly Kovalev fans, but I think at this point in time, he needs an all in the head, because I just don't think he's at the place right now, mentally or physically, where he can beat Andre Ward in a fight. And I'm the last person who's going to speak up that. I find him quite boring to watch. He's had some comparisons to Floyd Mayweather, which I think is nonsensical. Mayweather's much more fluid. Floyd Mayweather, I find him a joy to watch. I really enjoy watching his fights because of the fluidity he shows in the ring. To me, Ward doesn't quite have that fluidity, and he's not even. I'm a big fan of Forrest Stan. He was a classic box clincher type fighter, particularly in the first Shane Mosley fight. But I thought when Forrest was fluid and at his best, he was really good standing off and boxing. And when he was clinching and negating the opponent, he looked really good. Andre Ward just doesn't flow my boat in that way. But I just don't think Kovalev fight, and I just don't think there was an argument to be made that he could have been given a count unless he actually dropped to one knee and gave himself that argument and gave himself that count.
Yeah. Terry, the line is a little bit choppy, as you said it might be. Do you want to tell us about the StubHub thing?
Yeah, I mean, the StubHub thing is it's just one of those things. If I've got to prioritise print work. In the past, I'm in my 30s now, so when I was in my 20s, I could do maybe 2 or 3 articles per day. When I wrote for, as yourself would tell me, say when I wrote for BritishBoxers.net, I used to bang out articles day in and day out. But you kind of slow down as you get a bit older. Full-time job. So between the hours of 5 and 7 on a couple of evenings, I get a chance to do some boxing work. And if I've been given some print commissions, I have to prioritise with the StubHub. I could sit down and maybe write 800 to 1,000 words and just bash it out, give it a quick once over and stick it on the internet. But to do that, I'd rather do my research, which I've done. But with there being some legal stuff going on with StubHub in terms of some case law, which is always got to keep on top of. It's just a case I'm not going to just rush it now because people tell me to. The option's there for people to do the research themselves and write an article about StubHub. Give alternative to that is that that's not their job to do it. But then again, this is not my full-time job. It's something that started off as a hobby and something I'm slowing down. I still enjoy doing and still enjoy talking about. So the StubHub thing is going to happen. But I've got print work on. I was doing. I also have to do an article tomorrow, but I've got to edit the article to make it good enough for their print publication. Because I don't want to send something into a print publication. Some editors have to do all the work for me. The article should be print ready the moment I click on the send button. And the same goes for internet articles. I take pride in anything that I do for British Box. So anything that I do on StubHub, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be spot on. And ultimately, it's got to get both sides of the equation. Now, it's unlikely that anyone's going to talk to me in terms of StubHub. I've spoken to someone who actually works in the ticketing business, and they've given me a perspective from their side of things. So it is something that's going to happen, but I think people should just give me a chance. And just bear in mind, I've never been afraid to write about stuff in the past. I did this shed load of stuff in the past about contracts and both sides of the equation. People just didn't read. People just want to read an article about a tweet or an article about just some piss-poor news story that you can drag off social media. It's tedious and it makes me want to cry just having to write about it. So I'd have to do something that's a bit more in depth, which applies to the StubHub situation. Hopefully by this Friday, but again, I've done the research, so I have to go back and double check the research to make sure nothing's changed in the meantime. I just don't want to release something that's shit just to please something that's quite decent. Lots of both sides of the equation, and actually has something to say rather than just rushing something out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, no problem. Terry, thanks very much for coming on. We appreciate you putting your side of the story across anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry I talked so fast and with the regional accent and whatnot. Best of luck to you guys and stuff.
No problem. Thanks, Terry.
Cheers, mate. Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
Bye.
Just it.
Yeah, Terry Dooley there, Tommy. He did warn me before he came on that his line wasn't the best or something, so I can't really say anything. So unfortunately, maybe couldn't have heard him as best as we usually can. But
basically, what he's saying is he's done some investigation at StubHub. He's waiting on High Court clearance before he can actually go to print or issuing it or whatever.
Yeah, if we'd have had a better connection, then I think we maybe would have investigated it a little bit more, but just wasn't to be. Right, Andy, tell me about this cruiserweight thing then. We've touched on it briefly, but Rory McGonigal sent a question in. He was wondering who Ward would beat at cruiserweight. You know, you've got Bradis, you've got the Beast, you've got Gassiev, Usyk, you said possibly, definitely Tony.
Well, obviously, we've got to be we've got this tournament coming up, this super thing, so
That'd be good,
I think they're talking Kudryashov going into it, Bradis, Gazayev, I think Diablo's going into it, there's no Golaki, so I think there's a couple of titles. I think the only person with a belt is going to be left out of this, probably Lebedev, and is Usyk going into it? I don't know if he's going into this tournament, but to be honest with you, some of the guys up here, they are monsters and stuff. I mean, he would, as I said, I would think he would beat Usyk. I just think, better inside game, better foot movement as well. I don't really think that Usyk. I mean, if Kovalev kind of really kind of put his power onto him, I don't think Usyk's all that big a punch. He's enough to basically keep a fighter honest, but I don't think he knocks out Ward. Might be, the extra £25 move up, maybe it's a different gravy altogether, but people keep saying that Kovalev could have went up to cruiserweight and started knocking people out, so you just never know. A couple of the fringe guys coming up, that guy for Belgium, obviously that fight wouldn't sell, but if he's going to step up and maybe have a tune-up fight at cruiserweight, then the guys like Riyad Mahrez or Denton Daly might be suitable kind of tune-ups and stuff before he would maybe go into the ring with maybe, let's say, we a Usyk or a Lebedev or whatever, so we'll wait and see what happens, but it's going to really depend what happens with this cruiserweight tournament before we decide, or before we know, what kind of options he's going to have available to him.
Definitely, Rob, just before we move on to the undercards, we haven't heard too much from you, so I want to put this point to you. Johnny Nelson was talking on Sky last night. I don't know if you heard it or not, but he was making some interesting points. I didn't actually agree with him, Rob. What do you think? Johnny Nelson was basically saying that Kovalev should have took matters into his own hands. You don't depend on the referee in the instance of low blows. He should have maybe dug Ward back one. But I mean, I look at the counter argument to this though, Rob. Last night, Stephen Orman, for example, was fighting in the Waterfront Hall, and his supporters were berating the referee for not stopping Craig Evans from allegedly holding. They kept shouting, "Do your job, ref, do your job." So what is it? Do the referees the fight, or doesn't he? Is Johnny saying we don't need referees now? What do you think?
Well, I think if Kovalev drop one in low, that's the end of that, because then Weeks gets the two of them together and warns them. That's kind of the natural progression. I think people were kind of saying, alluding to the fact that maybe Kovalev's not as cute or as wily as that to do something like that. But I don't know. It's Nelson was talking rubbish for most of the fight last night anyway. Beforehand, I knew Butasi, he's a real silver tongue squire, isn't he? On get
an intellectual heavyweight.
We need him back on ASAP.
I think Rob Kovalev was caught in a maelstrom, wasn't he? I don't think he had the speed of thought to react to what was going on.
I just think that. Oh, wait a second. I'm just after getting BBC'd here, like by my little one. Hold on there, one second.
Rob's getting all befuddled live on the radio here.
Just touching on Johnny Nelson last night, did you see him saying that he said the box is a man's sport? Did you see that?
Yeah, and you woman was raging.
Man, I just seen that today, man. That was quality, like, so, my God.
Yes or no, has he slept with the length?
Oh, man.
No, he's not.
No, last night it wasn't anyway.
She's somebody here, boy. Fucking hell.
He was snapping too, man. She's too skinny.
I'll get a bash anyway.
Lovely stuff. Thanks for that, Tommy. Right, let's move on to the undercard. We'll get Rob back in a bit. I think he's a little bit predisposed. Tommy, let's talk about this Guillermo Rigondeaux fight. Really bizarre stuff against Moses Flores. It was going pretty well for Rigondeaux. Flores was a lot taller. Hadn't really seen too much of him. Rigondeaux was doing the business. And then after the round, something strange happened, Tommy. Rigo grabbed him around the back of the head, first of all. They both threw a shot. Flores missed. Rigo landed. The bell had gone by this point. And Flores sort of did a little bit of a chicken two-step and fell over. How did you see it, man?
Oh, shut up.
He fucking dived.
That's wanted that DQ win.
Listen, everybody knows I'm a massive Rigondeaux fan. I like him, man. I defend him all the time. It's a shame he doesn't get the big fights, but it was a foul last night, man. He grabbed him, but there's no doubt that Flores tried to milk it and get him disqualified. But to me, it's really something that you could have called a no contest. You know, the Rigondeaux, he did commit the foul, and Flores tried to milk it and that, but fucking hell, man! It was a strange ending. I feel bad for Rigondeaux too, because it was a chance for him to really get a good few rounds under his belt last night, showcase himself a wee bit, and it's just been around. It's been around. He's got a round there last night, and it's ended controversially. It's going to do nothing for his career, that. So he's really back. He's back to square one, isn't he?
Yeah. Andy, let's just break it down a little bit more, shall we? First of all, I'm going to defend the officials here. There was clearly confusion. What people were saying, they need to... No, listen, Andy. People were saying they need to sort this out. They should know the rules. But there's that much going on there. You've got the holding behind the back of the head. You've got the bell going. You've got the referee not looking at what was happening. You've got Flores' punch that didn't land. You've got Rigo's that did land. Was it intentional? Was it not intentional? That then impacts on the fact of whether it was a no decision, a no contest, a disqualification. If they have to take a bit of time, Andy, to get to the right decision, I'm not sure that they actually did. Should we maybe allow them to do that?
I know what you're saying. I mean, I suppose if anything, they did the right thing by trying to get the replay and stuff. But then it was a total clusterfuck in that corner. First point, he says that he landed the shot after the bell, and then finally, when he was really kind of forced to make a decision, he says that the fucking punch landed before the bell went. So therefore, it was a KO. At one point, he was going to DQ Rigo, which I know it's kind of. I suppose we let it alone. He could have DQ'd him, considering what happened with the Darrell fight recently.
I think he maybe should have done. I don't know.
Fucking bailed on that fight as well. I mean, that guy Flores was absolute dog shit. I mean, what was that all about? It wasn't even throwing punches. He's going,
Hey, he was making it entertaining, though. He was running forward, like wailing away and taking clean shots in the face, so it was fun to watch.
I don't want to care if they could have had any complaints last night if Rigo had been DQ'd, to be honest. Like, so I'm in the no contest category. I'd say myself, like, but.
Andy, Draculich looked like a little old man who really didn't know what he was doing. He had his hand on the heart. He was like a fish out of water. Why was the commissioner not at ringside? I thought it was interesting. Wasn't he asking? Somebody said, "What happened? Tell me what happened," as if they hadn't seen it.
I think he turned up. Did they know? Did they not have to go and fetch him or something?
I don't think he'd seen.
Robert Hoyle, the referee, was there as well, was he not?
Yeah, Robert Hoyle was there. Robert Bird was there.
Robert Bird
was there, and he'd seen what happened, so he got dragged in. Bob Bennett, I think, was the commissioner. I'm under the impression, I could be wrong, Andy, that he hadn't actually seen what had happened, and they had to tell him.
Aye, then I saw him he picked up a phone or something like that. Did you know, Dave? Did no phone like to get the replay going or something?
Yeah, they were basically begging HBO, and the commissioner relied on one of the HBO producers to tell him when the bell sounded. The guy told him that the bell sounded just as the punch was landing, which was wrong. The punch landed a little bit after the bell. So that's how he made his decision.
It's the same situation. I mean, Uskatagi, right? He wasn't actually in the midst of throwing a combination. Rigo and that guy, I don't know. I mean, was Rigo's combination really kind of like that late after the bell? I mean,
it was very late, Andy, but I would argue that Rigo only threw his punch because Flores threw his punch after the bell.
Aye.
Yeah, they were both throw-ins. I mean, who are you going to penalize? The guy who actually successfully did it?
Well,
Yeah, exactly, Dave. Exactly. But look, Rigo's Dave was like sort of, well, fuck you. You threw a punch after the bell. I'm throwing one back. It was spite.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm trying to remember what Dracula said again. He says he had his back to the actual shot, didn't he? But he says the guy had got knocked out and he was asking for permission to see if he could DQ Rigo. But then I need to go and play it again, but I'm pretty fucking certain that he wanted to DQ him. Then if about the 5 minutes and stuff, he said that the shot had actually landed before the bell had went, and therefore it was a KO victory.
Dracula's just shit. He's been shit for a while. Like way back when Khan fought Judah, he counted Judah out when he got hit in the balls.
Bogs my fucking ass.
Hey, Khan was dominating that fight, and he was gonna stop him anyway. But that was a low blow.
Come on, man. That was now compared to last night. That was a fucking heat shot. Come on, you fuck.
Rob Kelly's back with us. Rob, the Rigo
Sorry,
fight. Do
dude.
you have any sympathy with me for the confusion that was caused because there was so much going on in the aftermath? You know what happened?
I feel sorry for Rigo. I tell you what, though, I think Rigo's been letting the rockets off, like in the last few fights. Like, I think he's wanting to stop guys. I know he was unfortunate that he hits Jazzy Dickens and his jaw just breaks into pieces. And then last night, just before that exchange, he'd hit him with a counter, and I think the guy was like, "That I'm not." You know what I mean? I think he was looking for a way out. Like he got hit 2 or 3 times, and the way he swan dived at the end was worse than the rails, like, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
I mean, see, at worst, you could probably like say it was it's a no contest, so get a rematch. But at the same time, the guy fucking played on that left hand. I mean, it's Paulie rightly says it. If you get sparkled, right, you didn't fucking go doing like Darrell does. He went doing like a fucking mortgage man.
and then he looked up at the ref like at about 8, like, is it to say it's over or what's going on here? Do I need to stay down again for it? Oh, I'm going to go stay down again for it.
I was expecting Leon Lawson to jump in the ring at some point, start swinging.
Aye.
He
Jim
looked
Lampley's like unconscious.
Yeah.
You can see the guy open his eyes and look around.
Yeah. He looked like Father Dougal used to look like when he took up
Right. Andy, what about Rigo next? I like the way he was sort of giving it some in the press, in the post-fight interview with Max Kellerman. You know, he was like, what can I do? No one will have the balls to fight me. I'll give my titles across to them if they want them.
Aye. I suppose he's got to say something, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, it's trying to make the Lomachenko fight, but they're saying that he's saying that the Lomachenko side had been unreasonable. But, you know, that guy's going to have to drain himself to come down and wait. At bare minimum, Rigo's going to have to go up to 126, right? Bare minimum. And then maybe think that Lomachenko's might come in around about maybe 128 and allow that fight to happen. But why should he really? I mean, he's got fucking bigger options. I don't know what Rigo does next, actually. You know, I can't...
Rigo's going to dare to be great, hasn't he? He's going to hate to move up in weight. He's going to hate to gear up a lot. He can't get fights where he is. He can't make money. He's going to be the one that has to take the dive up in weight, doesn't he?
Either that, mate, or he's going to have to kind of go on the road and really just, you know, go for Vargas or, you know, go to Japan or fight Magdaleno. I can't remember if he's a top-ranked fighter, but even then, if you're up to featherweight, I mean, does Gary Russell want to fight him? Santa Cruz, Lee Selby's not going to fight him. He's going to be too trained at the weight. I like to see maybe the Valdez fight, but I don't know.
Are these guys really going to take that fight, though? You know, it's risk reward. They're not going to get paid for it. You're not going to make a lot of money for fighting him, are you? He's fucking good, you know, so... He's
still good, but 36, my fucking arse. That guy's fucking...
That's 40, anyway. It'll be 40.
That guy's tone 36, by the way. You're fucking kidding me on here, eh?
Yeah, no,
But still, he looks sharp. He looked real sharp last night.
Yeah, I thought he was toying with him for as long as it lasted. The guy wasn't able to do anything with him, and you could see even in the round he was getting frustrated that he couldn't hit him. And then when he was walking out to the counters, you could tell the cogs were turning in his head, like he was looking for a way out.
Let's be real about it, though. I mean, that's only his 3rd fight in 3 years. Does anybody actually think he's going to be out again fighting this year, or maybe even within a year's time? You just don't know where Rigo, man. You've not got a clue what he's going to do, and who manages him, really. You know, they're a fucking joke.
He's in a hard situation with Rock Nation, isn't he? Because they've only got one fighter that can headline on HBO, you know, on big cards, and it's Ward, Julie, isn't it? They're not going to get him fights on the network or that, are they? So he's basically going to be waiting to be an opponent for somebody else. So he's fucked basically, isn't he?
Rock Nation are the greatest promoters in boxing at the moment. And I'm not just saying that because my friend is Memphis Bleak and I have the hook up now with Rock Nation. I didn't know I seen him at the fight last night. So, yeah, they're definitely the greatest promoters on earth from now on.
they're still bowling, weren't they? They need to get a few more fighters. I was quite excited when they got Cotto and that. They had Cotto at one point, didn't they?
He's left.
He left. He's back. He's Oscar, but they did hold him at one point. But they really need to get a few more fighters and that, and then start building.
Yeah, I thought they would have gone for like Chico Stevenson or someone like that they can build. You know what I mean?
Yep, definitely some Olympians, but I feel bad for Rigo, man. I think he's different class, man. I really think a lot of writers and that have gave him stick and that, and I think it's hurt his career, especially with Dan Raphael says, man. But the guy's absolute class, but he's not going to get anything in boxing. He's going to take the plunge and move up.
They've basically what the boxing writers have done with Rigo is take the sides of the guys who haven't wanted to fight him. If somebody's ducking Golovkin, they're, I can't believe he's ducking Golovkin. Oh, he's a disgrace to the sport. If he's ducking Rigo,
that's a good point, Rob. It's like, well, yeah, why would anyone want to fight this shit draw? He's boring to watch.
Well, the thing is, I think Rigo's got to take some of the blame as well. I mean, his talent's unquestionable. I know he is so good in that, but at the same time, as he can be really boring to watch. I mean, who could forget the Cordoba fight? He just sometimes he just won't lead, and I think see Flores. If it wasn't for Flores coming out there fighting like a complete mong, that fight would have dragged on for 6-7 rounds. The life would have been sucked out of the arena. But that's what I'm saying. If Rigo would just step forward sometime, just lead. Who's
the guy that Bernard Dunn beat? Cordoba? Didn't that happen in the Cordoba fight where like people were saying to him, you need to come forward, you need to take the initiative, and when he did, he stepped forward, he walked onto something, and I think ever since then he's been like, I'm not leading for nothing, fellas.
And I'll take you that fight, and I'll raise you the Agbeko fight and the Dryan Francisco fight as well, Dave, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, he hasn't helped himself when he's been on big platforms, but I think over the last like 3 fights he's wanted to get the job done, and just, you know what I mean? It's just, he's one of the unluckiest guys in boxing, who's probably the most skilled guy, maybe him and Lomachenko. But
I still think he's got to take a big portion of blame as well in his own career. As I say, if he just, I know he said he wouldn't deviate, this is how he fights and that, but Juan Manuel Marquez changed it up when they had to, and he became one of my most favourite fighters. The simple fact is he changed his game up a bit more kind of attacking style. I just think Rigo could do that, especially if he goes up against these guys who are just so, it makes guys look like novices, especially in the defensive aspect. But if he just steps in and just fucking ends them early, wouldn't they need to fucking get Dan Raphael saying that you're shite and then take a picture with you?
You know what pisses me off when you see somebody like a Paulie Malignaggi that gets chance after chance after chance every year, and fucking Rigo, man, he's hard done by, isn't he?
Good point.
But you see, you know what I'd love to do with Raphael? I remember reading in I was in Kusadasi one time, which is a dive, by the way. Like some Shirley Valentine, 6 tourist capital for women. I was over there reading Adam Smith's book because it was that bad, and he talked about Adrian Carew. It was Adrian Dodson, wasn't he? Adrian Carew. And he talked about like when Carew was taking criticism from him, and he said, "Come in here," and said, "Just try and hit me. Just try and hit me in the ring. Just try to touch me." And he stood there for 3 minutes and couldn't touch him. And he said he had like a greater understanding. I'd love to put Raphael on a heavy bag for like 30-second rounds, not even 2 minutes. Just put him on for 30 seconds rounds, just once, and then or put him like doing technical sparring with somebody where he has to avoid a shot, and then try and talk bad about Rigo afterwards.
You'd kill him. Is it like a chainsaw?
You need a fucking auction next door to him, man. Fucking life support.
A double end bag.
Epinephrine and everything.
Yep.
Hey to Dave, final word to you on Rigo.
The guy dove, I think, and I would say the no contest is probably the best decision since it happened after the bell. But I would say a KO win for Rigo is better than a DQ loss, in my opinion, because the guy quit and he threw a shot too, and he just failed to land it, like he failed to land every other shot. As far as his future, I mean, it's too much stress to like worry about what this guy about Rigo's career outside the ring and how he gets scheduled. It's just there's so much like it never panned out, and so no matter how much time you put into like sort of lobbying for the guy, it never seems to go anywhere, and he keeps leaving promoters. So I mean, just have to hope for the best. Really, there's nothing we can do about it. So hopefully he gets a big fight again at some point.
Did you want to add something there, Rob?
No, I agree. I agree with everything you said. It's like you champion him and you're rooting for him and you want him to go out and absolutely dazzle people. Kind of like what Lomachenko's doing now. Like, you know, the guys like us hardcores who kind of champion guys of elite talent. Like, and then you want to put your casual mates on to say, watch this guy. He's gonna. And then they go, I saw that Egbeco fight. I don't know about you, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to say about the HBO's performance. They drew out the post Rigo fight for about 20-30 minutes, just talking about the controversy and trying to get a solution to the problem. And they're like, oh, look, well, maybe we should help. And oh, that may have been our fault telling you the wrong thing. This went on for, I mean, the fight was over probably about 10:30, and Ward wasn't even in the ring until 11:10 Eastern time. So they wasted so much time. They also like wasted time talking about the first fight, like watching entirety of the 12th round and the 10th round of the first fight, because they clearly wanted to start the main event of the pay-per-view at a certain time. So they were really stringing us along there, but they didn't say anything about the controversy. They didn't even say there was controversy following the Ward fight, the Ward Kovalev fight. And that's their job. They gotta tell us this. They say they make like half an hour's worth of commentary on the controversy of like a fairly meaningless fight with Rigo and some guy who's pretty bum level, but they can't talk about the controversy about Ward and Kovalev, like one of the most meaningful fights of this year.
But Dave, do you think the Rigo thing was just to the fact that they had dead air time to fill because
I guess that was it.
Time? Yeah.
But then they still dropped the ball as far as not mentioning, not criticizing the stoppage for one. Tony Weeks blew that, and also not criticizing the low blows. Although I don't think those last two low blows were intentional by Ward. I think the ones earlier, like there was one where actually Kovalev hit him a good shot and then started to follow up, and he kind of had Ward kind of going backwards, and then Ward just mysteriously lands this momentum blunting low blow, and that kind of gave him a breather. I think that one was intentional, but I don't think the ones at the end. I think he was just trying to finish. And
if you look as well, just to expand on that slightly before we move on, if you look at that in the 7th round, Ward did, apart from the low blow, he caught him with a lot of shots to the body, and in the finishing sequence, a lot of shots to the body around the sides. Definitely, the body attack was definitely taking it out of Kovalev, and I think, in fairness, credit to Malignaggi, he did call it as he saw it at the start and said, you can't stop the fight there, you got to count. But I think what people got carried away with was that they saw the shift in momentum and they saw that Ward was taking over in the fight, and I think people just kind of thought that was going to be the conclusion anyway. But not making excuses that he still should have counted, but I think Ward was definitely going to come out on top for sure. So.
It was almost I don't want to like make too many comparisons like Max Kellerman style, but it reminded me a little bit of Leonard Hearns 1, where the boxer became the puncher and the puncher became the boxer. And because I had Kovalev winning most of the rounds, and I thought he was doing well with his jab, sticking and moving, and he was just outworking Ward for the most part. But Ward was the guy building steam, doing the damage, and that was just sort of the opposite of what you would conventionally expect.
He grew into the fight, didn't he? Like the second fight, he kind of grows into it a wee bit. He kind of looks about, Kovalev probably does his best work in 4 rounds or whatever, and then he just kind of like try and works it out for there. Whereas Ward probably has a look for 4 rounds, and then as Jim Lampley says to him, judges need the first 4 or 5 rounds to kind of judge what they're looking at, and then they kind of then pick the winner, come down the stretch, so to speak.
Yeah, I think like what was I going to say there? I think as well as that, like to look at what Kovalev did different with the jab, he still, like that was as good as Kovalev was going to be, wasn't it, with the training camp? So there was no excuses. He had his nutritionist in, he was fit. It wasn't like he was overtrained or whatever, but he just, like, even though he was winning the fight, Ward was starting to figure him out. And I love that Ward was taking the initiative at the start of the rounds and going out to meet him and landing that right hand and just doing tactical little things like that, stunning him with a right hand, stuff he didn't do in the first fight, clean work and stuff. And I think he was just breaking him down, like, so. It's very, very, very reminiscent. I said Sugar Ray Leonard last night, but I was partly trolling Tommy just to try and wind him up. But I was thinking it reminded me of when Robinson had Turpin in the Polo Grounds that time, and he really the cup was that bad that he had 30 seconds left to stop it, and he was kind of holding him up. I thought Ward's shot selection was just based around the finish last night. He knew he had him gone, and he wasn't going to let him off the hook, like so.
Excellent stuff, Rob. Right, we'll move on. I was the hardcore's hardcore over the weekend. I saw all the televised fights on this card. I was also at the Paddy Barnes show, watching the SMIGGA fight on a stream at the same time. Some hardcore work there, Andy.
Oh, mate, listen, your dedication to the sport knows no bounds. Definitely the award-winning Steve Wellens. Fuck's sake.
I was wondering how you were doing that last night, by the way. I was like, how the hell is he live tweeting both fights? My mind was blown, dude.
You have to call my professionalism into question.
Silver haze.
Yeah. Just moving on to the undercard here. Dimitri Bivol, an impressive 4th round stoppage against Cedric Agnew. We've seen Agnew before, giving decent fighters a few problems. Bivol, like the look of this guy, always in punching range, good footwork. I think sometimes Agnew had his hands up and Bivol was a little bit bang, bang, bang against the gloves. And then he started touching the body, bringing Agnew's hands down. Agnew didn't want to know. I like the way Bivol then started punching around the gloves. It was only his 11th fight. We've heard about this guy. Rob, or if anybody else, if you haven't seen it, Rob, what do you think about this Bivol kid?
I haven't seen much of him. doing. I'm going to check it out. I was pure casual at the weekend. I saw SMIGGA, I saw the Rigondeaux fight, and I saw Ward Kovalev. I'm going to have to start there brushing up a little bit.
Yeah, what I will say, guys, if anybody else wants to jump in, maybe you, Andy, I thought Bivol looked really small for a light heavyweight compared to the 2 combatants in the main event anyway.
It's his 4th fight that I've watched actually back to back. He's 6 feet actually, so I know what you mean, because super middleweights are generally around about the 6 feet mark, 6'1", so I know what you mean. But I like the look of this guy as well. Actually, when he had Agnew hurt and stuff, he wasn't really rushing the work. You could actually see sometimes, he's 26 and that, but you could actually, if you had the guy hurt, you could just basically kind of spill in there and just kind of like gas yourself. But he picked his shots. Agnew had the gloves up and stuff, and he was like, maybe try to pierce it a bit. Then he'd just slip a right hand behind the left glove, drop the body and stuff. I don't know if there's maybe some eye damage here because Agnew basically kind of backed off and probably kind of quit, I suppose. Not to be cruel about it, but I thought he did quit actually. Fair enough, but he was just going to get broken down play by play anyway. And if it went the distance, it would have been a complete shutout. He was a top amateur back in his day, multi-time national champion. So I would imagine this guy's going to be getting fast track shot like a title shot. Again, as I say, it depends on what happens with Ward. He maybe play silly buggers and start kind of dropping titles or such. But Bivol now, I think he's now running about the #1 contender spot for the WBA title. So either by Ward or by winning cleverly against Jack maybe. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But some good fights for this kid. Beterbiev, if it can be made across promotions or whatever. Stevenson, Alvarez, Vodzgik as another fighter we could actually see him in way. So some good options there.
Yeah, exciting times at light heavyweight. Hey, Dave, did you see anything of Bivol?
Yes, I saw this. I saw everything but the first round of this fight. Yeah, he looks good. Reminds me a little bit actually of Gvozdyk and Toe. Like he's come along pretty fast. Not too many fights, but stepping it up quick and delivering so far. That would be a good matchup. Actually, I'd like to see Bivol Gvozdyk. That was a fight. See, we had 3 suspect refs in a row last night. We had Tony Weeks, who's probably the best of the 3. Vic Draculich, and then Russell Mora reffing this fight. And
you hate Russell Mora, don't you?
Oh, he's awful, man. He's pure fucking AIDS.
Dave hates him.
Yeah, he's freaking terrible. I hate him forever for what he did to Agbeko.
Wait a minute, there was a fight in Thailand that I watched. Was it Kohei? I'll find it and I'll put it out for these, right? But this guy, considering what actually goes on in America, he just let this guy get his absolute cunt kicked, and it was, he could have stopped the fight about maybe 2 minutes beforehand. It was fucking awful.
I remember you putting the footage of that back on the forum, I think.
Yeah, I'll dig it up.
He done Burns as well. Didn't Burns fight you were at, Andy? He done that as well, eh? Was it the fight against the Puerto Rican?
Gonzalez.
I got Gonzalez. Should have done that. He done that fight as well.
But yeah, I mean, it's for as being the worst of the 3 referees, I thought he probably did the best job last night. That was the stoppage was. I mean, like a lot. Agnew wasn't down. He wasn't like shook up very bad, but his eye was hurt and he was like covering up. He wasn't doing anything. I mean, that was fine. It's fine to stop it when it's not a hugely meaningful fight against a hugely meaningful guy, and Agnew's not Kovalev level. That's the kind of stoppage that Tony Weeks did, but he did it in the main event instead of, you have to have different standards for different guys, I think. And I thought Mora's standards were on point considering Agnew's level and considering what was going on in the fight, but Weeks' standards were too low, and he just stopped it right away.
I found that fight. I'll put it on Twitter now, but it was fuck. I just lost it. It's between Yod McColvor Sangthep against Coco Eto. I'll tweet it out. 12 round stoppage, man. It was horrendous.
Tommy, do you want to say anything about Bivol? Did you see him?
I've not seen it, mate, but I like him. I've seen his last fight. I think I want him to fight that Vodic, and I think he'll beat him. I've not seen it yet, no.
Final word on this card, guys. Luis Arias looked really impressive. Very strong, aggressive, hard punching against this Magomedov, I think it was. Quite a few, Andy, of these Uzbeks, Kazakhs and Tajikistanis and stuff appearing in Las Vegas. Magomedov, though, he couldn't move his head enough in this one against Arias, if you saw it.
I saw bits of it, mate. I did think Arias did pretty well. Bit down, worked the body pretty well. I can't remember much about it. As you say, Magomedov, I think he caught quite a few straight shots down the middle and that. But it was a good win, I suppose. Good to see that wee kind of regional title getting some kind of love around about America and doing that, because it's one of the belts that gets kind of, like they say, kind of regional belts, like our British title, so to speak. But I didn't really kind of pay much attention to it.
Yeah. Anyone else want to comment on Arias before we move on to SMIGGA?
Oh, come at me first with Smig, like, please.
We will do, Andy. Don't worry about that. Joe O'Neill from IrishBoxing.com has jumped on the line. Joe's going to stay quiet until the Paddy Barnes show. We've also got Smiddo on the line as well. Adam Smith, always good to hear from you, Smiddo. Break this Ward Kovalev fight down for me before we go to SMIGGA.
I don't know. Like, I think the ref, Kovalev obviously got hit low a couple of rounds before the ending. The ref was on his side on that occasion, let him have a break, warned Mr. Andre Ward. And then I think there was at least one, if not two occasions before the final barrage where Kovalev tried to milk a low blow, rightly or wrongly, and the ref took no notice. The first time, Ward, if you're a Ward fan, you should have said, you should be jumping on him, the ref, you continue until the ref says break. And then I think he tried to milk one a little bit after that as well. But I think Kovalev, as I was watching it live, he looked done to me. That right hand was beautiful. Legs stiffened up, never seen Kovalev like that. And then he's almost invited the ref in for me because he's bent over. As the clip that's going round and the shot that is borderline, the final shot that is borderline, there's no getting away from that. He's already bent over. He's already virtually sitting on the ropes. He's already bent over. He's squeaming, if not screaming. And he's almost, for me, he's almost invited the ref on. To me, it looked like a bit of a Kovalev quit. And I don't even like Andre Ward. Like, I don't want him to win. I want him to get beat. But it looked almost like a Kovalev quit to me. I actually had him in front. I know the official judges didn't. But I just think he's tried to milk it too much. And I think he's paid the price for that. Obviously, there was one or two shots that were low, but we ain't talking about bollock shots here, lads, to me. Like, I've watched the replay and I've watched that clip a couple of times.
The last two were definitely on the bollocks.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I don't know. Hey, sorry, Smith, to interrupt you.
Yeah, go on.
Does anyone think that B-Hop deserved this 5 minutes rest against Calzaghe?
No.
All right then. I thought it was similar territory.
The thing is, B-Hop had previous for, like, not for diving.
No way.
See that Robert Allen fight, the first one when he went out the ropes and that?
Yeah.
He was going on about his right ankle, but his right ankle didn't even fucking hit anything on the way out. It was his left ankle that kind of like hit the canvas on the way out. It was a lot of shite.
Sargando Mercado, but hey, that's very similar to Kovalev in the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, Smith, to interrupt you.
No,
yeah, go ahead, Smith.
That's pretty much all I got to say. I thought Kovalev did a lot better this time with his jab. I think that we kind of wish that he would do that anyway, because he worked the jab okay in the first fight, but he didn't use it enough. And last night he used it a lot better. It's a very hurtful punch that he's got. I thought Ward was doing pretty well, or very well, to avoid the Kovalev right hand all night. Andre Ward was just ducking under that right hand all night long, and he dealt with that quite well. It was very technical. It was a bit high level, very technical. Similar a little bit. Elite elite wise to the early rounds of Brook and Spence, which was very close, to and fro, trying different things, very technical, very good. But I think, to me, I'm verging on the side of Kovalev has took a quit. To me, he didn't really complain massively after the fight. He was more complaining. His complaints were more vigorous in the first fight after the scorecard. So I don't know if it was just a bit strange. Maybe I'll change my opinion over time. But I just think you're sitting on the ropes. You're already bent over before that final shot lands. And yes, that final shot was probably south of the border. I still don't think they're bollock shots. I'll go back and have a look, Andy. I'm not gonna set in stone and say disagree with you, but I'll go back and have a look. But to me, on what I've seen, I don't think they were bollock shots anyway. They're just on or below the belt line. And if you look at the instructions that were given by Tony Weeks at the start of the fight, he did point to the middle of Kovalev's belt line, safe.
Steve, breaking news, mate.
Yes. There you go. What's happened, Andy?
According to Big Fat Dan, apparently Rigo's KO win against Moses Flores has been changed to no decision as per the Nevada State Athletic Commission. That's...
Oh, maybe they'll change the Ward Kovalev fight, yeah.
Can I hear you, Rob? You've covered your mouthpiece up, I think.
You're in a submarine there, Rob?
Right, can you hear me now or not?
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Sorry, guys. I think Cathy Dove was launching a protest anyway, isn't she? So
tomorrow, but that's got to do nothing anyway. That's just going to force the sanction body's hands and fucking strip a belt or something like that,
See, to be honest, there's nobody really want to see that third fight now either.
No.
They both just need to move on, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. There'll be no clamour. Smiggo, tell me about Rigondeaux before you disappear. Smiggo, what about Rigo?
Smido's on mute. You're on mute, mate.
Adam doesn't want to talk to me right now. We'll try and get him back if we can. Let's move on to the other Smith in our life, Paul Smith. Who did I say I was going to come to first? Andy, let's have a look at this then. I was watching it ringside. They looked like they were punching underwater, didn't they? It was one of the most piss-poor performances by a British fighter in a world title shot. I think Shep...
Come on, you're being a bit...
I think Shep has put up a poll. Is this the worst that you've seen in recent years?
No, I thought it was the greatest. What a night to be alive. Sky Sports Boxing from Germany. You always get like the polite Germans like to go to a fight, clap along. Paul Smith's ratings gold in Germany. Did you not know this? I thought he was tremendous last night. His jab was on point. His hand speed was tremendous. Chin, it let him down towards the end, but he gave a great effort, So you got to understand him kind of getting dropped like that, because he says he really did put it on the line there last night. Left nothing to chance, emptied the tank out, and just robbed on the cards, man. I mean, it was disgusting to see. I thought Smith was a clear winner, But if he retires after this, he's had a great career. British champion. Tony Dodson, great win. Thank you, Paul Smith, for everything you've done for us.
I was particularly impressed with his fast start. That's something like a Joe Gallagher fight to come out bombing like that, isn't it?
Andy, do you think he got knocked down in the last round because he just put so much into it and he was just spent?
I thought he got clipped by a left. I don't know if you're being serious with me now. I'm trying to be serious now, but I'll just say I think he got clipped by a left hook. It was definitely a knockdown. Quick complaint about it. He got caught by a left hook. Then I think it was another right hand on the third shot. It was definitely a knockdown. I think he tried to kind of break his arm just to kind of prove it and stuff like that, But Anthony Fowler says it as well. He's world class, So it was just as I say, Eddie Hearn said it all for us on Sky Sports last night. He's been a wonderful servant to the game. How
can he be world class? I mean, I just don't understand.
Well, he's fought for a world title 3 times. Did you know this? Fighting for a world title makes you world class. I mean, you just know what's going to happen after the Stag do that he deserves a 4th world title shot because he deserves it. He's dedicated his life to this. So it's definitely another title shot should be looming within the next 12 months.
Who do you think would win between him and that guy that Ward fought as a tune-up? I can't.
Alexander Brand.
Yeah.
Oh, Brand would beat his ass, man. Brand would fucking school Smigga. Fuck you know. Different wildlife fighter. Smig's absolutely shit.
Right, Tommy, break it down for us. I mean, talking about Smith though, Tommy, Zuga is pretty shit himself, isn't he?
Tyron Zuga's not going to beat anybody at 160, is he? He's fucking. He's rubbish.
He got rocked here last night as well, did they know?
He did. They said nothing. It was third round, was it?
I think
But
so.
this Zoiga's not very good either. As he's just less shit than fucking SMIGGA is, obviously. It was quite funny with Johnny Nelson last night to say that he's probably past his best. He's not past his best. He's just always been a British level fighter. It was unbelievable. He got this shot. He got ranked 5 in the WBA. He came earlier. What a chance he had, and he just never turned up. He never fucking done nothing, did he? He landed one decent punch in the fight, man. And it was predictable. Everybody says he's nowhere near world class, and it was proven right last night. I'm just interested. I wonder what the WBA are going to do now. They'll probably rank him third or fourth.
That's what I says, mate. He gave it his all there last night.
He'll definitely keep his top 15 ranking anyway. Put it that way.
Oh, he's definitely top 10, mate. Definitely, without question.
I loved how he was raging at the knockdown, Andy, as if it like made a difference on the cards.
It did make a difference, mate, because he was winning that 12th round and he got robbed in the 12th round, you know. But in the days, we all know Smith's he's really cramming himself to make super middleweight. I think he has to step up to 175 and show the world, you know, when he's hydrated, how good he really is.
It's going to be just like Bellew moving up to cruiserweight.
How do you think Kovalev would take his body work, Andy?
I think Kovalev quits, man, on his knee this time rather than sitting on the ropes, eh?
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. That was just a total non-event last night, man. Fucking hell.
I was actually, how bad it was, I'm being serious now, obviously I was just taking a wee bit of a piss, but I was flipping between that and the Barnes fight, and I was kind of like having to rely on Steve's Twitter comments as to how bad that fight was going, but I think I could only sit for like maybe 2-3 rounds of it, and I had to go away and do something else, and I come back for maybe a minute, and it was nothing changed. It was shit, it was fucking pish.
Yeah, we had a comment on Twitter about Shep's poll. Mohamed Mia has jumped in and he said that no way, it has to be Brian Rose. He should win this hands down. It was like men versus boys against Andrade. And then, quite unfairly, I think Billy Aird has jumped in and said Bruno versus Tyson. I feel a bit sorry for Frank being thrown into that level.
Tyson was a killer at that time. But what about I forget his name now.
Lee Purdy.
That's the one. Lee Purdy.
Against Alexander.
Gary Lockett. He did it against Pavlik either, did he?
Yeah. Michael Jennings against Cotto.
Jennings, that was horrible too, man. But Smiggs had 3 chances away, so he's going to be the worst.
Yeah, definitely. Just before I bring Rob in on this one, actually, I'm sure he's dying to talk about it. Tommy, tell me about the commentary on Sky. This is nothing new to us, right? But Jamie Moore, wasn't he put in a really awkward position? I'm sure he's not going to turn the work down, but he's Smigga's mate. They're all in the same camp. What's he supposed to come on and say that's objective? Like, he was trying to give Smith rounds. He was trying to find reasons when there were none.
It was a bad position for him. Jamie Moore's a nice guy. It was a bad position for him to be in. He was clearly losing the fight. And Jamie's obviously, he's nowhere to go backstage at night and fucking there'd be tension and that there. He kept a couple of rounds close and blah, blah, blah. But that's not really what you want to see if you comment to it. At the end of the day, it was Sky's fault. Jamie done what he done, but that wasn't a nice last night to listen to, really, was it, man? Fucking hell.
Not really. Rob, the general consensus is that Smith is a big fat moaning shite who shouldn't have got this world title shot because he's barely British level. Any disagreement there?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, after all Eddie's moaning and everything, there was a lot of focus last night on Sky's coverage about the online criticism surrounding Paul Smith's shot at the WBA super middleweight title. So I said last week, if this guy's any good, he's going to beat him. But it turns out he wasn't any good, and he still beat him. And I've no doubt that Paul Smith prepared like he never prepared before for this fight, and he got down the weight and all that. But you know what? It doesn't matter because he's not good enough, and he's never going to be good enough. And, I'm glad that focus was put on online and that people actually see what's going on, because you follow this Sky narrative and he's the real gone kid and he's doing it for his family and all this. And he goes out and he performs like that in his last world title shot. That's his performance. That's what he does to try to win a world title. He didn't ever try to take the initiative. He hurt him in the 3rd round, and Zoiga was not a good 168 fighter. He's a B level fighter, maybe a C level fighter. All right, he had an okay jab, clipped him with a few left hooks, but he wasn't anything special. If we're to believe Eddie Hearn's narrative and the reason for this fight, and he's the perfect opponent, and he's a star in Germany, and this, that, and the third, let your hands go. You're there for the title. This is your 3rd world title shot, your 4th big fight. Your last time out, Eddie's even giving you Eddie's folded to the online criticism because he couldn't wait to bin him as well as soon as he lost last night. He was like, "This is it, absolutely. He's not going to be back for another world title shot, never again." been a great servant, yada yada. So we had to listen to all this nonsense off Eddie in the build up that this was his opportunity and he was taking it. Well, look what he did when he got his opportunity. Look how he performed, and that's why, because he didn't deserve to be in there and he shouldn't have had the ranking that he had, and that fight shouldn't have happened. So
yeah, Billy.
You know, you got to remind me of Robert Stieglitz, but nowhere near as good.
No, he's not
That
as good as
makes
Stieglitz.
sense, man. He was fucking rubbish, man.
and he got drubbed by him. It was a drubbing. You know what I mean? Could have stopped him.
119, 108 across the 3 scorecards. I mean, what was the Murphy round in there? What was the Murphy round again?
I think a lot of folk gave him the third, but I still thought it was like a win the third. I think I gave Smith the 10th. It was the 10th or 11th I gave Smith.
Just because he rocked him, aye.
Was it the third or the second that he?
It might have been the second. It might have been the second, Steve. I can't remember if it was the second or the third round day, but I thought he landed that punch. He threw a couple of more punches as well, but I don't really think he landed much. I still thought he rocked him in the round, but I think Smith won a later round. Anyway, he got well beat anyway, and it was good to watch. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I was just saying there, Billy Aird came back to me on Twitter with a good one. Howard Clark. Was Howard Clark any more worthy than SMIGGA getting a world title shot? I'd forgotten all about Mr. Clark going in against Fernando Vargas. In, what would it have been, 2001, 2002, something like that?
No, it was well back in the day,
Yeah. Good old Howard became a journeyman in the end. Let me see. Nothing on the undercard of any note on that one, so I think we're going to move on. Oh, hey, today, did you say anything about SMIGGA?
I haven't seen the fight, but I'm going to watch it now, even though I'm sure it's absolutely
Don't.
horrible.
Did a date to yourself, mate. Fucking
I just want to hear the commentary. I want to see Paul Smith lying on the floor in the 12th.
Go and watch Jermaine Taylor against Corey Spinks, mate. That's that's more entertaining.
Anyone listening, don't go and watch that fight. Right, let's move on to the final card of interest. Just before we do, actually, Robert Helenius, we were talking about him last week. Rob, I know you were really excited to see he was fighting against Ian Lewison. Lewison must have pulled out, unfortunately, because Helenius ended up winning the vacant WBC International Silver Heavyweight title against none other than the molecule from hell, Evgeny Orlov. So he's back in the mix, Rob, Mr. Helenius.
Can't believe he beat my boy Orlov. What an upset that is. Yeah, I don't care about this guy. Like that now. Like we said last week, if he wins, where does either guy go? So who's next in line to get Helenius unleashed on him while he defends that international silver title that we're all on the edge of our seats about?
Well, I can tell that you're annoyed by the fact that Lewison pulled out, so maybe they could get him back in again.
Oh yeah, that's pay-per-view stuff right there. Sign me up.
Rob Kelly's heavyweight breakdown, everybody there. Rob, while you're on, actually, tell me about Paddy Barnes and the Waterfront. I was ringside against Silvio Altiano. A real hard-fought win for Paddy, who's been calling for a step up in levels in only his third fight. He wants to find out if he's good enough or not, and fighting the likes of Altiano at this stage of his career will certainly tell him whether he's good enough. I thought he boxed very well towards the end, Paddy. He really bit down on his gum shield against a quality guy who hurt him to the head, hurt him to the body, and this will do Paddy the world of good if he is going to aspire to world title shots.
Well, see, Paddy's in a bit of a difficult situation because I think he's left it so long to go pro. I would have wanted him to see him go pro 4 years ago and take the, you know what I mean, if you want to rob the bank, go and get the money approach. And I know he used to talk online about it not economically making sense, but sometimes you have to take the loss to go, you know what I mean, to profit down the line. So aside from the economics, like Paddy's a hard little guy, like tremendously talented little fighter, but he's in a difficult position now because he's turning pro and he's late in his pro career. And he has an esteemed amateur pedigree. So the calls are, like we talked about this with Condon, they want to see him stepped up immediately. He hasn't really got the time left to learn the pro game, so he has to go in against better opponents, like I said, to see is he good enough. So I don't know about, I'm willing him to do well. I'm willing him to win a world title, but my personal view on it is that I think he left it a little bit too long to turn pro.
I don't know how much you saw of the card, Rob. A few things of interest on the undercard. The John O'Carroll versus John Quigley fight was as good as a fight as I've seen at ringside for a long time. Really, really high-octane stuff. Craig Evans against Stephen Ormond. The polar opposite, really. Very messy, very hard to split them. And then good wins for prospects, including David Oliver Joyce, who's turned pro. Definitely one to watch. Lewis Crocker as well.
David Oliver's going to be a good prospect. I love John O'Carroll. I think he's another one that I would have liked to see go to the US. He's like one of the guys that we talk about that's maybe not as skilled as somebody like Paddy Barnes, but puts absolutely everything into the fight game. Upset Gurley early in his career, and I'm interested to see where he's going. I don't know what level he's going to end up at, like whether he just might be British level or would he get above that. But he definitely has the combination, and He's never in a bad fight, is he? So I'd like to see him again.
Where do you stand on Beardgate, Rob? Do you think he should have had it trimmed?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if you're in a fight and you're rubbing it, and someone's cut and you're rubbing a big, one of those big ridiculous beards into the face, it's going to have an effect on him, isn't it? Like, so I don't know. The only one that should have a long beard is AB, baby. Promise.
I'm with you on that one. I'm a big fan of the AB myself as well.
Fucking AIDS, man. I hate that prick with every fibre of my being.
Is that fight going to happen with Mikey? Because this week it was like he was getting called out for raping somebody.
That's just a week in Bronner's life, man. Don't worry about that. That fight's happening. That's just like a regular.
Yeah, man. Right. That's nothing for Bronner.
I've read that thing actually. It doesn't look too good, and it doesn't look great on both sides actually, because it looks like she's. I'm not calling her a liar, like, but it's been made pretty clear that she's not got a lot of money, so it could be a cash grab.
Mm-hmm.
It could be legit. I don't know, but
about babies, AB about babies.
Are you smelling a Desiree Washington here a bit, Andy?
Well, there's no smoke without fire, right? Bronner's been caught, deliberately on video shagging 2 sewer rats and stuff, fucking bareback, right? So, it's obviously that his standards not very high. He's got different phones. I was reading the story, right? It was like the last I was saying, he's got all these phones and that. I wouldn't bet. I guess I seen David Hay with 2 phones and that. So he's obviously got one for his fucking family life, business life, and all that sort of shit. All that shit goes on.
That was his best performance at 147.
Anyway, so back to this Waterfront card. We have Joe O'Neill on the line, assistant editor at irishboxing.com. Always glad to have you, Joe, get an expert on about these Irish cards. Tell me about Paddy Barnes, first of all, Joe. He's won his first title. You thought that it was one of those fights that was close, but Paddy was just doing enough to win each round.
Yeah, can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I actually had it relatively wide on the cards, but in a way I was saying like every round was very close, and perhaps I was like, you could almost say like a good 5 or 6 rounds were almost swing rounds, but I had Barnes doing just enough. It was also a weird thing is it looked as though Altenau had more power behind the shots. But the only person who seemed to be getting hurt or not even hurt, but getting stumbled was the Romanian himself. Paddy's shots just seemed quicker and crisper, and he wobbled him a couple of times. He wobbled him 2 times in the 10th. I think he wobbled him in the 5th as well. Barnes himself was slightly hurt at the end of the 2nd, but yeah, I think the opponent has been really underestimated by some. Like, his record isn't great. It was, I think, 16-11 before the fight, but it's a really misleading record. Like, I think he lost his first 3 fights on a spin. He came over to Spain as a journeyman, and after 3 close losses in his first 3 fights, they were like, "Here, you're actually decent, so we'll turn you into a proper fighter." And then he went over. He fought Daiki Kameda and lost in a split decision. He held the EU title, the European title twice. Like, he was decent, and he was so game there in that fight. And yeah, I'd be acknowledged. Like, a lot of people were disappointed, but I'd be acknowledged. That's a perfect 3rd fight for Paddy Barnes.
And he's aiming for Zhu Shiming, isn't it, Joe? That's what he wants, really.
Yeah, he was saying afterwards that he's thinking, like, he's probably going to go into the rankings now, into WBO about 10th or so. So he's thinking, get the international or the intercontinental belts as soon as possible. That'll push him up to hopefully the top 5, and then try force away into contention. But like, Shiming is probably one of the weakest champions across all the weight. Like, he is pretty much a cash cow, and Barnes has no qualms admitting that. Like, that's a mega fight for him there, and he'd sell well probably over there. Like, a bit I can imagine, like, you can almost see, like, with the way Paddy is with the leprechaun sort of ring nickname and the thing, like, he's almost turning himself into, like, he's a shrewd enough guy. He's turning himself into this sort of caricature that would sell well to a Chinese audience, I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about Irish fighters with the Chinese audience, I got a chance to talk to Jamie Conlon last night. It was quite deflating, unfortunately. Jamie hasn't really got a clue what's coming next. He's waiting for the Rex So to sort this situation out with his opponent. And apparently he says Top Rank, he thinks, wanted him to fight So, but his management said something else. He's sort of caught in limbo, Conlon.
Yeah, there's sort of a hazy sort of roadmap set out there in that the WBO champion is Inoue, who obviously is a phenomenal fighter, and he fights on that Superfly card over with the one with...
That card is pure sexual, by the way.
Oh, it's unbelievable, that card. It's absolutely unbelievable. And Conlon is hearing that the Japanese fighter is going to vacate after he makes this one defense, introduced to the US fans there, defended there, and then there's talk from he moves up to bantamweight and immediately goes in with Yamanaka.
Yeah, that's right.
And that leaves it vacant. And then you have Kono and So fighting in a final eliminator in October. And Conlon is hoping that gets elevated to a vacant title fight. And then Conlon's hoping himself to have maybe a final eliminator in and around the same time in September or December. And for him to be first in line for So. He's really banking on So to win, just with a Top Rank connection there.
That Conlon Sow fight is going to be absolute carnage. That's a bloodbath written right on it. Like, there's cuts, there's broken bones and everything in that fight.
Well, exactly, yeah. But the only thing is, like, Kono is a wily, dangerous sort of fighter, and So again, like, he is an absolute warrior. But you could also argue that he's a bit of a cash cow as well, and that this is the most dangerous fight of his career by far as well. So Conlon is like anxious about So getting over the line in that fight, because that fight, I think that's on the 8th of October.
Yes, I believe it is. I love Conlon's honesty, Joe. He said last night, I know we're fighters and we're supposed to be brave and all that, and he's proved his braveness and his courage over and over again in the ring. He said, but Inoue, I mean, who'd want to fight him? Like,
yeah, and that's I'm perfectly okay with that. Like, the bit, like, rather than any sort of false bravery, and then like when he comes out straight like that, you almost respect him. You respect him more for that.
exactly. Tell me more about this undercard. First of all, Evans against Ormond, Joe. There was a bit of a debate going on about who was doing the holding at ringside. They were definitely blaming Evans, but I was talking to your boss over at irishboxing.com, Johnny Stapleton, and he said, well, if Ormond's coming in rushing with the head, what's Evans supposed to do? Where do you sit on this?
Yeah, I think actually as the fight went on, Evans paid heed to the warnings almost, that like early on in the fight he was trapping the left arm of Ormond like Flanagan did in that eliminator last year, or was it the year before? But he's like Ormond was just off the boil. Like, he's 34 and his timing seemed to be gone. Like, you would almost swear he had an inner ear issue or something. Just his range was just completely gone in that fight. And actually, I may as well just make the point that the scorecards were very harsh on Ormond.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's also one of them that it was almost of benefit, because I would have hated to see him have lost because of the last 40 seconds. But
yeah, he sort of just crumbled, didn't he? Same as when against the Journeyman with the body shot. Evans just raked the body, and if it was going on for another 10 or 20, I think Ormond would have got stopped, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but I think it was just the sands of time are gone. Like, he gave his all, and just it's not there anymore. He just doesn't have the time. And I was talking about I mentioned the weight issue last week, but I was talking to him on the at the public weigh-in on the Wednesday, and he was saying how he had the best camp of his life. It was the first time he's ever done an 8-week full-time camp. He had his weight was ridiculously down. He was saying he was 4 pounds over with like 3 or 4 days to go, which is unheard of for him. And so everything's going great. I just think the body's gone. With his style, it's not a style that you can take into your mid to late 30s.
No, he's very much rush forward, Joe. And finally, the fight of the night. I was saying it's one of the best fights in a long time I've seen at ringside. John O'Carroll against John Quigley. I thought Quigley boxed very well, actually. Hands very low down. But he was quick, he was skillful, he managed to get out of the way of a lot, except for in the second round when Carroll caught him twice and dropped him. It was a really good back and forward fight, and I think the right man just about won.
Yeah, I think I had Carroll winning. I had 6 rounds each, but Carroll with 2 knockdowns, so I had a 114, 112. The knockdowns actually didn't prove crucial on the cards, because they scored at 7-5 to Carroll.
Yeah, it would have been 115, 113, wouldn't it, without the knockdown?
Yeah, exactly. But Quigley actually really impressed me in that fight. Because obviously he had that slick style, but he showed serious balls. He finished it stronger. He swept the last 3 rounds, and like he seriously dug deep. Because I was saying after about 8 rounds, from ringside at least, he looked absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, because he'd been badly inactive, hadn't he, leading up to the fight?
Yeah, and he'd never been past 6 either, whereas Carroll has done 8 once. He did 9 in prize fighter, and then he did 10 as well on the Fury undercard. So but it was actually Quigley who finished it stronger. It's just such a shame that fight took place at 7:45.
Yeah.
400 or so Liverpool fans over for the guy Dickinson's debut and for Quigley, and then Carroll had 200 up himself, and they just vacated the area straight afterwards. Like that should have been in chief support ahead of Ormond, just from maybe not from a profile wise, but from a ticket wise, because again, sadly, the bums weren't on the seats last night at all. It just seemed a bit of a mistake having it on that early night, and it's one that I think for Carroll, at least just from the Irish perspective, that he's going to get more and more credit for it the longer it goes on, because just I feel that Quigley's going to actually probably get to British level once he rebuilds.
Yeah. Just before we bring Andy in, anything else off the undercard that we should be keeping an eye out for? I mentioned to Rob about David Oliver Joyce.
Yeah, David Oliver Joyce was actually probably one of the most controlled pro debuts I've seen in a good long while. Like, I've probably of the 4 Irish Olympians who've turned pro, he's been the most impressive. Even probably if you factor in the GB Olympians, other than maybe Josh Kelly, he was surprisingly surprised, because he was almost, a lot of people would have almost dismissed him in the amateurs. Not dismissed, but they would have crude compared to a lot of them. But he was technically flawless in that. Well, maybe not flawless, but he was very, very good in that fight. There was actually we were having a bit of a laugh ringside. His opponent was Gabor Kovacs, and there are 2 Gabor Kovacs currently operating. One is 9-3. One is 7-3. Joyce fought, and then one is 26-9, and the 7-3 guy fought, but BoxRec have it recorded as the 26-9 guy, and they have the result down. They've changed the other guy's record, and the other guy had something like 50 BoxRec points or whatever. So Joyce has already shot up into the top 100 in the world, and I'm just wondering, does that get changed, or does he benefit from that from forever?
Yeah. Interesting question, Joe. Stay on the line for as long as you can, and we'll get back to you at some point if you're there.
Cool.
Cheers. Andy, just before we move on to you, Ian Chalice has thrown one in on Twitter. He's talking about Reese versus Broner, asking whether that was for a title. Deserves a mention because Reese was outclassed. We're talking about the worst British world title challengers. Also, Jack Rice has said not abroad, but would Frankie Gavin count against Kell Brook? Pretty dire stuff, Andy. Comment on that if you want, or move to the Waterfront card if you did see any of this.
Both. Well, I suppose that second fight was pretty awful. Reese, he was outgunned at the end of the day. He was always a small lightweight. Brunner's teed off them uppercuts and that, but he's a toughy bastard. He did get up and bite down and stuff. I'd watched some of the fight. I mean, obviously, fight of the night was obviously, did you say, what was her name again? Carroll against Quigley. I was surprised the fight was on so early, actually. Quigley, he kept his composure because he was badly hurt in the second round, so he managed to get up off his arse and kind of box himself back into the fight almost. And Steve Norman, I remember Steve Norman on his 5th pro fight. He was fighting the Ricky Burns undercard against Johnny Greaves. That was quite impressive back then. So it's kind of a shame to see how his careers went. Actually, I don't know in the end it was DQ against Flanagan for persistent use of the head, and there's been other situations in that as well. Obviously, that bad knockout defeat against Zasbo and that. So I don't know, what's happened to him really, but I thought he might have at least went up and maybe kind of challenged for a version of the world title. Never mind the WBU one, whatever one it was. But so it's kind of shame to see his career kind of peter out. But I don't suppose we'll see him back in the ring now anyway, will we? He could retire after that.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I think, as Joe said, it was one of those short fuse careers. He was really high octane and intense, Andy, but now I think the fire's gone.
Yeah, I mean, another one as well is the Barnes opponent. Okay, he's had, I think he was a 4-fight losing streak or something. But that guy's he's always been on the cusp of especially top of European level and that. So I suppose it was a good step up for Paddy Barnes. I did think he was struggling a bit in that fight. As I said, I was kind of fleeting it between that and the quality that was the Paul Smith fight. But I think Barnes had to really bite down in the end, didn't he? Because it looked like he was breathing out his arse heavily running about the 6th and 7th round. I don't know if it's a training issue or whatever it was, but I did think the worst for him at one point. But he got the win in the end. But at flyweight, I think he's going to have to pick his next, his fights for a world title kind of closely. Zhiming obviously, but Higo, Ioka, and Nietes are going to be tough fights. If you really want to maybe put him in, see where he's at. Well, I don't know how easy the Selby fight might be made down the line at some point, and I don't know how fast you want to push the guy, but there is some good talent coming up there, some good old amateurs they might have fought in the past, like the Pakistani fighter Mohammad Wazim. He's a possibility. I think he's on the cusp of a WBC title shot. Guevara, Brian Valoria's kicking about again, I think. So, these are kind of tough guys. Kevin Satchel, I don't know if he can still make flyweight or not. But there's a couple of good fighters there for him. I just don't know if he would put him in at this point with him. I see Edgar Souza dropped an 8-rounder there last night as well. So maybe that could be a fight you could put him in with.
That would be a decent one, definitely, Andy. Tommy, you haven't seen Paddy Barnes, have you?
I've no, mate. No, I watched SMIGGA instead. So I've not seen Paddy yet.
No problem. Joe, did you want to jump in there?
I'll just say that Paddy himself, Edgar Souza, is one of his all-time heroes, and he really, really badly wants that fight. And maybe after last night, there's probably a greater chance of it happening.
Yep.
Just on Paddy's weight, can I just put in, he was a light flyweight in the Olympics, which would have been 49 kilos, which is 100. It's basically identical to light flyweight in the pros. And he was bollocks for the Olympics. He barely made weight, but he only had a 3-hour rehydration there. So I asked him about fighting at light flyweight in the pros, but he was saying that the money fights aren't there. But I think if he doesn't get the Zhiming fight, it's probably almost a better idea for him to go down to light flyweight, because his style was always about outworking and being physically stronger than his opponents. And while he was bigger than Altnow last night, and was a below average size flyweight, and he's going to have trouble with guys who are cutting them properly. Like Selby's a lot physically bigger than him. A lot. Like he's a very, very small flyweight, Paddy.
See, like flyweight, I don't think there's a lot of fighters down there that, I don't know. Well, obviously the BT deal might be different, but Warren getting some of the champions over here might be a struggle, especially the Japanese guys. So maybe Melando, but I'm sure he was way top rank.
Simon Coggins was on Twitter. They're talking about the worst British world title fights. This one seems to be running and running. Andy Holligan against Julio Cesar Chavez. Don't remember that one, Andy. Have you seen that one?
Who was that again? Andy Lonigan?
Andy Holligan. I remember the name, but he was just before my time. Maybe yours as well.
Andy Holligan. Did that guy fight, or am I fighting somebody else? Did they fight Arguello? Or is that Andy? I can't mind that fight, mate.
Yeah, no, neither can I. Hey, today, did you see anything of the Paddy Barnes show?
Behave, he's a casual man.
I don't watch these Euro bums. Oh, wait, actually, we had Paddy on our show, right?
Yeah.
I hope he gets that Zhiming fight, because that's like a great matchup, actually, for him.
No, we didn't get Paddy on. We had Michael Conlon on.
I'm sure I think Paddy's been on, I think.
Was he no MVP? Was he no MVP?
Yeah,
the other one
he was on
next
Brian
week
and
pod. Okay.
Yeah. Paddy's great fun. We'll have to try and get him on at some point. He is a good laugh. Right, anyway, talking of good laughs, joining us on the line now, live and unfiltered, Big Russ. How you sounding, Russ?
Yeah.
I'm all right, Steve. How are you, mate? All right.
Russ, tell me about this Ward and Kovalev fight. Break it down.
Right, the first fight, I had Kovalev winning by a round. Everybody knows that. You could say 2 rounds, but looking at it from one by a round, right? So we know that. It was 6 rounds each, won it, but he had the knockdown, right? That's that fight out of the way. The second fight, I think Ward correct wrong, got off to a better start, but I had Kovalev up by 2 rounds at the point of the stoppage. But I counted 15 low blows in the fight. Now, he had a couple 3 warnings or 2, but he never had a final warning though, did he? He wasn't warned though, wasn't he? But 2 or 3 occasions.
knocked off in 32 fights in the Edwin Rodriguez fight. And what he did in that fight, he should have got disqualified for. But Rodriguez went out angeling that one. Now, we all know what Ward did to Mikhail Kessler, don't we? And he split both his eyes off and went butts, didn't he? If that would have been it, Ward wouldn't have been the guy he is today because they've had a loss on his record. All the hardcore people, everybody in boxing, we all know that. But Andre Ward can fight. So a dirty fighter as well. He's not going to give his titles up that easy. But Kovalev, for me, made a little mistake. Whereas when he maybe just a fraction below, he didn't complain. Now he's a tough guy, obviously, isn't it? If that had been Bernard Hopkins, he'd have been on floor rolling. Because he's a bit more streetwise, isn't he, Hopkins? Now, you remember the Robert Allen fights, which I think Andy or Tommy were talking about, and the doors. If you're going to foul him, he makes a meal of it, doesn't he? He even did with that Joe Smith who knocked him out of the ring, didn't he? Made a meal like that.
Yeah.
Kovalev didn't make a meal out late by that stage. He hit him with that right hand, and then he just went downstairs. Weeks he is a weak referee, but my argument is, why does Andre Ward have to have everything stacked in his favour? In the Super 6, I know this because I've spoke to Mick Hennessy about it. When they went for a contract, the guy who died, Goosen, he made it quite clear that Ward only wanted to fight in his own state. Now, in his own state, but he had to fight in Atlantic City, so he never travelled. He had all USA judges and officials, and he has for both these fights. With that first fight where he wants it all his own way. The referees don't do anything. They don't stand up to him. I mean, I know but he should have been warned in that Kessler fight and Froch fight for the holding. He's holding people 8 and 9 times around. Each time he's grabbing seconds, that's a minute and a half. He's walking clock round 45 seconds, and then he's just protecting a couple of jabs he's hit you with. He pinches the ref. But he did go after Kovalev in that 8th round, didn't he? So I give him credit for that. But he finished it with low blows. That should have been because he was sat on count and a point off, or a point off, shouldn't it? But in my opinion, it was a point off and a 5-minute break. That this Kovalev up, doesn't it? Clears his head, gets him back to normal. Hopkins took 2 against Calzaghe, didn't he? 2 5-minuters. Now, to have these breaks, and Kovalev's too tough for his own good. But he won the first fight and he had his pocket picked. This time he had his pockets robbed. I'm raging with it because I had it in my bet, Kovalev to win, but there's always controversy with Andre Ward because he wants everything or he just takes his bat and ball home.
Russ, give me a second. I'm just going to try and reconnect with you. Okay, we're just losing you a little bit there. 1 second.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just trying to get Big Russ back on the call here. Everybody loves a bit of Big Russ, so it'd be a shame if we managed to lose him. Right, where's the speakerphone? Let's see if we can get a better line with Russ. All right, Russ?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, Russ, tell me about this. Tell me about Carl Froch before the fight and the preparations. You wanted to say something about that?
When Carl Froch fought Andre Ward the first, well, they fought him one time, didn't he? But my birthday was on October 19th, 1970, so he says, come and see me. I went up and see him at Hellebiola Hotel, so I had a couple of hours. I said, how are you gonna fight Ward then? He says, I don't know. He says, I don't know whether to have a game plan or just to go straight at him now. Obviously, they tried to be technical with Ward, didn't he, for the first 7 rounds, didn't he? And, he could give him a share of one of the rounds. I had it 7-4 and 1. I know judges had it 7-5, didn't they? But I give Carl, looking at it in his favour, 4 rounds. Ward had clear 7. 1, you couldn't like it 10 rounds. But he thought he's on fire after it was too late. Ward had got the rounds at the back. And how do you fight a guy like that? Carl said he didn't feel like hitting. The only time he was hitting him were with puts and elbows. But he said, I spent all night, Russ, trying to get him off me. I'm all he used to do, unlock the wrestling champion when he wanted at high school. All he wanted to do was lock in and use your strength against yourself. Because Froch's teeth, tough, strong. He says, but you could just feel he said training. But what got Carl through that fight is fitness. Now, what's going to beat Andre Ward is somebody that's really fit. You've got to be really, 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 really fit to beat him. If you wait, then you've not got a chance. Alan Green was like a fairy tickling in my head for him. You've got to have everything. You've got to get everything right to fight him because he wants everything his own way. They'll even ring you to book the fight so they get more time to prepare for you. He wants every single advantage like Mayweather. And I think there's only really, in his weight division, there's only three guys that can beat him. Yarde, he's not ready yet, and you'll get him when time's right. I think Beterbiev, I think that and Ward is a flip of a coin job. Even now, I think he's really that good. And he's bigger punch to cover that. But don't know about his boxing skills, do I? But I think he's maybe got more in his locker than Kovalev.
Wait, Yard beats Ward.
I just don't think he wants to test himself.
Russ.
No, Andy, Yarde
here.
and Beterbiev beat
Yarde. Do you think Yarde will eventually beat Ward? Did you say, Russ?
Yeah, I think he will, because I think Ward, if he stays on too long at 175, and Yarde's like 20-0, I think he'll beat him. Because Ward will be over ill, won't he? I think Yarde's that good. I really do, honestly.
And what about What about Beetlejuice? Do you think you better be? Yeah.
I think he beats him now.
So does Tommy.
He smashed.
Yeah.
I think he beats him in that beef.
So where's Ward going to go next? Where's Ward going to go next, Russ?
I think he'll fight at cruiserweight. Tony Bellew was saying he wants to fight Stevenson, 200 £. Well, why don't you fight fucking Ward? Because I know that's how they work. They're going to throw a name out there, Stevenson. He's going to say no. Well, Ward will. Ward will want the belt. He wouldn't have been known as a freeweight champion, wouldn't he? So from a lighter, but he'll go cruiserweight, one better than Roy Jones, and then I think he'll go for a weak champion heavyweight. But he'll try to make a legacy. He's a diva. He'll get everything stacked in his favour with Rock Nation because they're earning no money off him, I've been told. He's getting massive money. They're making note of him. They offered him a massive contract and they've got to honour it, haven't they? But I think he'll beat Tony Bellew, and I think Bellew will still get the hay fight after. Trust me, I think he's going to go to £200. I don't think he wants to fight Beterbiev. The reason being he's going to say, well, I've got all the belts at light heavyweight and he don't really want this because he's fresh in your Beterbiev, isn't he? And he's freakishly powerful, isn't he? As Bob Ashley saying when he's sparred Beterbiev with 16-ounce gloves on it, Beterbiev were lifting him off the floor. And he's my favourite fighter at the moment, Beterbiev. I'm like fucking people can say a Christian can't fight. Well, listen, if I had one front, I've got one Beterbiev because I really, really rate him, honestly.
Who's your favourite fighter, Russ?
Well,
Russ, let's bring in the guru here. Go on, Tommy.
Who did you choose your favourite fighter, mate?
Who's your favourite fighter? Beterbiev.
Anthony Joshua.
Russ, tell me about Russ. Forget about this rubbish. Let's talk about the real stuff. What about SMIGGA?
Smithy. Oh my God! I went to work late last night actually because I wanted to watch the Smithy fight and it didn't finish 12 so I had to run at door and get out of the way. But listen, I stopped watching. I'm thinking, come on, get that ring and get it. I want to win it 12 rounds. Didn't it? You never thought. You only landed with 1 punch, but I didn't give him a round. I couldn't give him a share at third. I had it 119, 108. Yeah, I could see that. Really, 120, 107, really. He didn't win a round, mate. It was embarrassing. But I also heard that Eddie said he's done at world level, but he can fight Jamie Cox on money if he wants. But Smith, he didn't want to go down to that level. But I'm telling you now, it's free money for him, innit? He'll think 15, 20 grand, do I want to get in the ring again for that money? And it will do, He'll come again. Don't be buying into this tease because he's going to be a pundit, because he's not that making money being Skype, but he'll fight to get the clip again. The British have got. Will he need one more win than if it felt outright?
Yeah.
He'll come again at British level Portsmouth, but now he'll fucking horseshit, mate. I mean, all these people that have been saying, why are you putting in this man for a world title fight? It makes all these other kids that are in the queue, like Liam Cameron, David Brophy, Rocky Fielding. What about all these kids that are doing it hard way, going out and actually winning titles and fighting top guys. And then you got him there fighting guys who were ranked fucking 612, wasn't that Reggie? Daniel Reggie. 3 wins is that. Of a guy who's been running between 300 and 600 on box rec, and he gets a world title shot. I'm fighting more than it's a disgrace. Gilberto Mendoza, listen here, you fucking piece of shit. If you're listening, you're an embarrassment. You should be ashamed of the sky. I mean, I'm just hearing what you are talking about Jamie Moore. How can Jamie Moore commentate on that? How can he? How can he commentate on that? He couldn't really give him anything quick. He looked dead in the way. He had that big beard on, so we couldn't see that his head looked like a fucking skull. He looked like Skeletor under that beard. Telling you.
Right, Russ, anything else you want to add in?
Yorkshire Ripper, didn't he, with that fucking beard? He had all his back shaved, didn't he? Because he can't do it. Fucking, he never shaved his fucking beard, did he? The bearded fucking wonder.
Right, Russ, we're going to leave it there. We'll get you on next week, okay?
Alright, mate, you take care.
See you, Russ.
See you, mate. See you. Oh man, that's class. Russ's song, guy likes.
Better beef.
Beer beef. I thought you should Beetlejuice to start with.
I need to find out what he was sniffing tonight. Anthony Yard beats Andre Ward. I don't care what version of Ward that is, by the way. He could be fucking 60. Yard will beat him, like.
Yeah. Right, guys, let's move on. There's hardly anything next week, so we're going to leave our Floyd versus McGregor chat to next week. So if you want to get any questions in on that, I know Toby Hines and a few of the other guys have already. Get your questions in for next week. Or the Floyd-McGregor chat. One time only, Andy.
Yep, one and only time until after the fight. It's not even a fight, man. It's a fucking sparring session. It's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Fucking AIDS.
No, nobody's happy about this on this pod. I'm not really too bothered, to be honest with you. Right, let's move on to the stuff next week. We've got Bellew of the Week coming up later as well. In fact, first of all, just a quick word, Andy. You'll probably be the man for this. We never said this last week. To my disgust, when I listened back, the great Errol Christie died. Unfortunately, a real nice guy that he was. Errol. I saw an interview with him on Box Nation with Bunsey and Barry Jones, and he was a flawed fighter as a professional, superb amateur. But it's just a shame that he passed on.
I to be honest, I didn't even know he was seriously ill. Actually, it's fucking sad. The better was he 40. What age was he?
53 or 54.
53 was, I think. Yeah, it's fucking sad that he go that quick, man. But I understand. From when I read it, he'd been fighting it for over 2 years or something. Lung cancer. Just shows you to a guy, as fit as he was. I don't know if he smoked or drank or anything like that. But
no, he didn't. He didn't.
Just shows you. I mean, you could abuse your body and just die of natural causes, or you live fit as fuck and eat healthy and die with the worst diseases ever, But as you say, he was a top amateur, great youth level and amateur level, and that he just couldn't turn it over. I remember when the Michael Watson fight, some were telling him to basically retire because he wasn't really cut out for the pros. And I'm no shit on him because he's that is just what people's opinion was of the guy at the time. He just wasn't a good pro. Obviously had that epic fight with Mark Kaler with the race issue involved when it was at its peak around about the 80s in London and stuff, and I think maybe the West Ham ICF were called in for security for that fight or whatever it was. And that,
Cass Pennant,
Yep. So it was fucking pretty evil stuff back in them days, and obviously they had to battle through that the racism around about the 80s with the Combat 18 and was at the National Front and all the guys and that. So sad to see him go, but it's a shame.
Yeah, he said on Bunsey's thing that he found out after the police grabbed hold of him in boots, thinking he was an ISIS terrorist, and roughed him up a bit. And he went in to see about bruised ribs or whatever, and then noticed a shadow on his lung. So if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have even known.
Christ, and then they'd have been wondering what was going on with him the next 6 months, losing all this weight and the idea what's going on. Just shows you.
Yeah, rest in peace, Errol Christie. I'm sure from everybody on the asylum. What are we moving on to now? Yeah, brief comment. Jerry Callan, the respected Irish boxing historian and journalist, was on Facebook last week. He was talking about Clark Sammartino, who of course put in this ridiculous scorecard for Ryan Burnett. Mr. Callan said, not the first time Clark Sammartino has screwed up a world title fight in Belfast. It was he who gave the decisive casting vote against Ray Close in his second fight with Chris Eubank in their second fight at the King's Hall in May 1994.
That was one that ended a draw, and Clark Close should have got the decision,
Quite possibly. I can't remember, Andy, to be honest, but Jerry's on the ball anyway.
But there was meant to be a third fight and it fell through. I think it was meant to happen in Ireland as well.
That's right. There was meant to be a third fight. Yeah, that was the second one. That was the draw, I think, wasn't it?
Aye, I think that was the reason why the draw happened. But the second fight happened because Eubank got a kind of gifted decision in the first fight.
Yeah.
Eubank kind of got a couple of decisions in his favour. Do you remember when he headbutt Dan Sherry backward?
Aye.
Yeah, that was he probably should have been disqualified for that. That was madness, wasn't it?
Yeah. Adam Smiddo Smith, we've lost him unfortunately, but he's been on Twitter. He's talking about Bellew against Stevenson for the worst British fighter in a world title fight. Out of options, I'll go with Smith. Can't remember the Jennings one, to be honest, says Smiddo. We seem to have lost him. What else have we got, guys? Let's have a look at next week's rota. Like we were saying, Andy, there's not a hell of a lot on. Is this next gen card or something, is there?
I don't know anything about that, mate. I know Thomas Adamek's fighting again next week after coming out of retirement at heavyweight. I forget who. I think he's fighting that guy that Joseph Parker fought in his one of his last fights. Is it Solomon?
Yes, Solomon Hormono. He's an Aboriginal descent or Maori descent, I think.
That's where it is. He's fighting in Poland next Saturday. I think that's only noticeable fight no noticeable fight, but only named kind of fighter that I saw was fighting next week. There's
some decent fights on that undercard at cruiserweight. Krzysztof Glowacki is going in against an unbeaten 29-0 guy who could be good, could be crap. And Matus Masternak, who I think got beaten by Bellew, is fighting Ismail Salak, who Kovalev wants to destroy.
Is Salak up at cruiserweight now, aye?
Yep, he is.
Fucking hell, he could even... Well, we don't know. I've not seen him up at cruiserweight recently. I noticed that other poll, mate. Is it Machat Saluki?
Selesky, yeah.
He's undefeated. He's had a couple of fights in America and stuff. Santano Jr. knocked him out in the 10th round. I don't know if he's going to be anything good up at light middleweight, but you just never know. He's not got much of a knockout ratio though. So.
No, not really. Talking of knockout ratios, hey to Dave Lowback. There's a fair few knockouts on display over in Philadelphia next Saturday night. Kermit Cintron continues his comeback against Tyrone Brunson. Once a good puncher, now just shit. How do you see that one going?
I don't care. Enough. Cintron. I mean, I guess he just needs the money. Brunson, I don't know anything about at all, but it sounds like he'd be able to punch just based on his name. So I hope he knocks him out.
Based on his name.
Classic hey to Dave there, everybody. Classic hey to Dave. Over in Dublin next week, a couple of Irish title fights. Talking about this next gen, Josh Kelly's fighting Tom Whitfield. You've got on the undercard Scott Fitzgerald, Bradley Saunders is back. Stuart Hall, not quite sure if he's a prospect. Jordan King, Simon Vallily, Anthony Fowler, Warren Baster. Absolutely no frigging interest. Might get an early night next Saturday, Andy.
Scott Fitzgerald, is that the one that did he win? Was he not just recently turned over for the amateurs? I'm sure he competed in the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, I think
he did, didn't he? Didn't he fight? He was one of these ones who, what was it? It was like a pay-per-view or a really big card that they had on, and they were running short of time because of all the mismatches, and he ended up getting a 6-rounder right before the main event, and he was complete shit. I think he got dropped or something, and
honestly can't mind. I just remember the name in the Commonwealth Games, yeah.
I think that was him. Right, Tommy, let me hit you with a question here, right in the face from Stuart Roberts. He said, which fighter in the modern era has taken the worst one-sided beating but went on to complete the full fight? I've been thinking about this, Tommy. I'm going to add a couple in. Vitaly Klitschko against Shannon Briggs and Frank Buglioni against Fedor Chudinov. What do you think, Tommy, the worst? Oh, Tommy's buggered off. What do you think, Rob? Any answers for this one? The worst one-sided beating, but they've managed to last the distance?
Margarito against Pacquiao. Did he last the distance or did they stop that?
Yeah, they made it. He made it.
He
That's what I was going to say too.
So, he got a drubbing that night, didn't he?
He certainly did, man. Took a right beating. Manny should have got him out of there, I think.
Yeah, I think he was a bit compassionate in his body at 154 when he was ragdolling Antonio Margarito. Maybe he didn't want to ring too many alarm bells about his football superstar's head. But, yeah.
Hey to Dave, second question from Stuart Roberts. You're going to have to get your brain working for this one. Who was your pound-for-pound king before Floyd earned the position for the first time? Also, what are your main criteria in determining pound-for-pound status? Let's take it two parts then, Dave. First of all, what is your criteria for determining pound-for-pound status? Now, you're quite an interesting character because I seem to remember, before I was on this show, just listening, you had Bernard Hopkins right at the top of pound-for-pound, didn't you?
When was that? You mean back like a couple?
Quite
a few
recently.
years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
I'm sure
Floyd
Hopkins was. I'm sure Hopkins was classed as the number one pound for pound just before Floyd.
But I remember you lot arguing with Dave because his criteria was something like he was basing it off Hopkins's past wins, even though the consensus was that he wasn't supposed to be up there. I might be doing you a disservice here, Dave. Please take the floor.
Well, I focus on, like, I'm not a huge fan of pound for pound, so I tend to do it based more on resume. So yeah, I probably did have Hopkins rated highly. When I didn't become really a hardcore boxing fan until Floyd already was pound for pound the first time. So after him, then it was Manny. Before him, I can't even think really, because I wasn't like a hardcore at the time.
If you're talking 2000s, you're talking Mosley,
De La Hoya.
De La Hoya would be running about there somewhere. Hopkins,
Trinidad, maybe.
Roy Jones would be
Roy
different.
Jones Jr. for sure.
But I think I'm pretty certain Hopkins was universally recognised because he beat Oscar, knocked him out for the basically for the unified undisputed middleweight title. 2005, I forget who Floyd beat in 05. Was it when he became it had been, was it Oscar?
Corrales, isn't it?
Corrales.
Yeah.
The Corrales 2000, maybe 2000.
No, it would have been before 2005, wouldn't it? Way before.
Well, as I say,
talking about.
Let me think. Who did Hopkins? You Google on it. 2005. I hear it's here. He beat Brussels, Gatti, and Shambi Mitchell, and Sam Zabjuda the year before, 2006.
I was actually watching the Judah fight recently, and HBO were calling him the best pound for pound at the time he beat Judah. So, yeah.
Bruce Sellers, I think, Rob, was that bizarre one on like Boxing After Dark when he was talking to Max. It wasn't Kellerman. I think it was Lampley and Larry, or whoever was doing the HBO. He was talking to them at ringside about American football, giving his predictions halfway through the fight. Bruce Sellers, was that mediocre?
I was watching what old fight was I watching the other day? McCallum and Tony, and Trump is there, young Trump ringside.
Wow.
Random.
Great
Anyway,
fight.
sorry guys.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Anything else you want to add in there, Andy, before we move on?
No, mate, I'm good.
No, Andy wants to get away. Understandably, I know I haven't written my boxing news report from last night yet, so I'm going to have to get moving. Just before we go on to Bellew of the Weeks, Jamie Simpson sent in a StubHub comment a couple of weeks ago, and I've neglected to read it out, so I'm going to read it out now. Jamie, apologies, it's been so late. Jamie says, there's lots of speculation about Matchroom and the StubHub relationship. The consensus is that Eddie provides StubHub with face value tickets of which they sell, and they split the profits. After giving this some thought, I realised this would be an accounting nightmare and easily revealed. What I'm confident is happening is that Eddie is providing StubHub with tickets of which they sell at face value. He does this as it's an easier ticketing system than doing it in-house by outsourcing to the ticket professionals in StubHub. However, says Jamie, by claiming all events are sold out within 4 minutes, but there are some tickets available via StubHub allocation, having this plastered all over his Twitter account, this creates a huge frenzy of people purchasing directly from StubHub, just as Eddie Hearn wants. Each StubHub sell, whether it's face value or secondary market, they charge an admin fee. And Jamie goes through this now and works it out. He reckons that altogether the admin fees are raking in around £3 million. Eddie, of course, wants his slice, but they cannot do backhanders as it affects the books and is too blatant. Therefore, Eddie gets his cut of $3 million. They then sponsor Matchroom. This way, a clean transaction between two companies is made and there is no trace of any wrongdoing, indirectly conning the fans. This needs exposing, Andy, says Jamie Simpson. What do you think about that?
It's a good theory. I've not been following it too close to some others. Well, it's maybe not too far off the truth. Just says we'll need to wait to see what Dooley's article comes out with actually, if it's going to be an expose and if he gets the legal backing to do so, because obviously I wouldn't call it a conglomerate, but you talk about £3 million and stuff like that. That is a lot of coin to fucking bury you in lawsuits and stuff. So you got to be fucking spot on with what you're going to be releasing here, eh?
Yeah, any other brief comments on this StubHub situation? Do you care too much about it, Rob, now?
No, it's interesting though to see that it's kind of the culture now at all events that the tickets are sold out in 2 minutes, and then anybody that is a genuine fan of an artist or a fight, they have to go in their pocket and spend over the odds to get there. You know what I mean? And these casuals in Sky are hyping it up, so it seems like it's not going to change anytime soon, and it's not good for the real fans of the sport are the ones who are suffering. So I'd like to see it discussed more for sure.
Hey, to Dave, if you were going down to the local amateur boxing show and you wanted to see Eric Spring in action, would you dig deep for a StubHub ticket?
You always remember Eric Spring. No, I wouldn't pay anything to see him specifically, but I'm not really clear on this whole StubHub situation. Apparently, so what he's sort of auctioning the tickets off so that he can get more for each one than face price.
I think he's saying that it's all sold out. Jamie's point is, and then he's sending everyone over to Twitter to buy from StubHub because it's all sold out normally, through the box office and that, and then that's creating a frenzy. And so, because he can't charge over the price, Jamie reckons that by being sponsored by StubHub, it sort of legitimizes the whole situation. It's a bit messy, really, isn't it?
But on StubHub, you get you pay more.
Well, you used to have to do that, but now I think they're pushing the fact that it's face value on StubHub because they were getting so much blowback on that. People were being annoyed because what they were doing was selling all the tickets out, supposedly, giving a load over to StubHub and saying, oh, you can go and get them from there. And then the price is inflated by so many, pounds or whatever. So people were pissed off. I've never bought through StubHub. I've never even been on the website, to be honest with you. Team Press Pass. Right, let's move on. Thanks, Jamie. Belly of the week, guys, and then let's get the hell out of here. If anybody has any nominations, then I'll come to you at the end. I have quite a list, as you can imagine, with McGregor fight coming, with SMIGGA fighting. Yeah, there's quite a few. So bear with me, please, everybody. Right, Kevin VW has been nominated for talking about Terry Flanagan against Lomachenko. Do you think Lomachenko would beat up Flanagan or just beat him? Flanagan has so much height, weight, and reach on Lomachenko. It would be close, says Kevin. Okay, then. A nomination for T Street controversy. He released his criminal history on a video this week, Andy. We should do this, shouldn't we? He released all the charge sheet for all the things that he's been up to because apparently some haters are giving him some stick. He's quite the character, T Street. There's assault, attempted rape, attempted a sexual assault.
Who the fuck's T Street?
He's a guy on YouTube who does boxing videos. Terroristic threats, carrying a firearm, aggravated assault, recklessly endangering another person. We should do a criminal history video.
Well, at least Dave and Matty and Don have got guns and stuff like that, so at least we can start running mini war and that. But he's nowhere near the same level of G as Christie.
Nothing shows you're a tough guy more than your sexual assault charges, anyway.
Doesn't look good, does it?
Oh, they're the first charges. Yeah, I'll show you. There's a sexual assault attempt. All right, man.
Right, Josh Crofts is talking about Conor against Floyd Mayweather, and Michael Gilhooly jumped in and he suggested that Conor could throw a spinning back fist Superman punch.
What?
He can throw whatever he likes. It doesn't have to be roundhouse kicks. A spinning back fist Superman punch, Andy.
That is. I mean, I've heard the likes of and I've seen fights in the old days and that when the guy just flicks his fucking backhand out and stuff. Even that shit nowadays is banned, and you're gonna get away with spinning 180 degrees or 360 or whatever, and just smash the cunt with a backhand. Fuck off.
Well, that guy doesn't even know anything about MMA because you can't do both of those at the same time.
Never mind deleting Twitter. Delete your life for coming up with shit like that. Fuck me.
Do you think suicide is the only answer for him, Andy?
Aye, kind of Boris Berezovsky style. Aye.
Hey, you better watch it with talk like that. Some woman, some bitch in America just got found guilty of.
Oh, aye. Sorry, I take that back. It was just banter, by the way. Sorry, guys.
Bit of suicide banter on the Nuthouse. Right, Stephen Donnell has nominated the Boxing Kingdom. Yeah, apparently
Again,
they were saying
parody.
This is a parody. I know they were talking about Eubank apparently taking millions in this fight against Arthur Abraham. And he's also nominated Pugilist King, who jumped in and said, this can't be true. Whenever Boxing Kingdom said that Eubank Jr. would walk away with £17 million from this fight, plus the pay-per-view revenue, which is approximately 400 million. Pugilist King jumps in and says, this can't be true. And Boxing Kingdom says 100% true. And Pugilist King says, he's really making that money, is he? A large percentage, says the Boxing King. I feel sorry for him, Andy. I've been caught out by the Boxing Kingdom in the past as well.
I might well have, but if even Mayweather, McGregor's not making that amount of money, for fuck's sake. Oh, fucking hell.
Rob Barnett has nominated himself. He said, Belly of the Week for me for listening to Next Big Fight podcast, fucking tripe. Apparently, it turns out he was talking about Next Big Pod, so a bit harsh for our friends over at the Next Big Pod there. Fucking tripe, says Rob Barnett. He's nominated himself, so okay, fair enough if that's what you want to do. Brian took it well, I think. Andy, Berto thinking Ward stops Kovalev. Was that one you threw in?
I never threw that one, did I? Did I throw that in?
Yeah, you sent that to me at Steve Welling's Belly of the Week.
When-
But Berto thinking Ward stops Kovalev.
So
How
is it,
about that?
is the bell you know me then, no?
No, it wasn't on you. It was you nominating Berto.
Yeah, but
Aye.
considering the result,
Aye, but we're going to say that like he stopped himself. Well, okay, he was doubled over. He'd been hurt to the body with some legal shots. But let's be fucking all the way 1,000 with this man. He got fucking drilled in the studs. Fuck.
No, nomination stands for Berto. William Munro Jr. has been sucking up to the WBO all week, saying how great they are because he thinks he's going to get some kind of a title shot at Billy Joe Saunders. So I got involved because I like Willie. I said, this is why the WBO are the best and fairest ranking body around. Willie jumped in and agreed with me and said, facts, and then tagged in the WBO. So me and Willie are tight, Dave, at the moment. Dave loves that one. Right, Billy Boy has nominated Patrick Craig. Quite a few people nominated him. He's talking about, how would you not watch the McGregor-Mayweather fight? McGregor is a throwback to your Ray Robinsons, the heavyweights of the 60s and 70s, the Durans he gets in and fights. Patrick Craig, quite a few people nominated him.
casual.
Casual central. Skip Bayless. I see this guy quite a lot.
No.
He says McGregor's boxing skills being underestimated. He's a lefty. He's a lefty with a big right, ambidextrous thunder at lightning speed. Run, Floyd, run. They're flying in. Brian King has deleted this one. Ryan Olbison. Well, Ryan Olbison deleted the tweet, but Brian King got a screenshot of it. He wasn't happy with this. Both looking very good physically. Oh, he's talking about Conor Ben. Sorry, here. Both looking very good physically. If Ben's been sparring with Joshua, then we defo get another undisputed champion in the making.
Wait, what?
Good luck, guys.
What? Ben's been sparring me. Fuck off.
If Conor Ben's been sparring with Anthony Joshua, then we have another undisputed champion in the making. Or maybe a coma in the making.
I'm calling bullshit right there. He's sparring me fucking Joshua. Okay, maybe we move around in that, but fuck off, man.
Josh Tebow, Belly of the Week for Carl Froch, Russ's mate. Froch said, if the fight with Ward had gone 15 rounds, I honestly think I could have got him out of there. Okay. Jamie Buckton, a former friend of ours who's talked shit in the past. He's talking about the Ring magazine. The Ring magazine is the Bible of boxing rankings. All the governing bodies use the Ring. The lineal champions are defined by the Ring rankings.
Yeah, okay. He's just started watching boxing the last 2 years, right on.
Dean Glover nominated that one. Another nominated for Patrick Craig, talking about Conor being a throwback. Quite a lot of that one. Ben Thorns has nominated everyone who's buzzing for Floyd against Conor. Matthew Skelton has nominated T-Side Tom. On McGregor, says Tom, don't underestimate the mind games this man has. He slowly erodes his opponent's confidence and forces them to act differently. Tom seems like he thinks Conor has a chance. Scotty B has nominated Harrison Cronin. I genuinely think that Mayweather is going to have problems with McGregor's speed. Also, if McGregor can get close enough, he will KO him, says Harrison. Who have we got here? Lee Jordison, bit rough, back in the kitchen for this one. He says about Deirdre, Nick Mathuna. How many weeks does that leave me to win the lotto, fly to Vegas and watch Conor KO Mayweather? She says, finally. Hashtag a girl can wish. Right, what have we got now? Jake Van Ags has nominated Mike. Thanks for the consolation prize. Conor would trash Mayweather at any point in his career. Body, head, body. Piers Morgan has been nominated from Dominic. He's buzzing for the fight. The more people tell me Conor can't win, the more I think he can, says Piers Morgan, celebrity twat.
That Arsenal fan, complete cunt.
Yep. Michael has, lads, surely Bellew of the Week should be McGregor of the Week. I've seen some embarrassing comments this week. Yeah, you're right there, Michael. This was a good one from Michael Gearty. Who was it? Lamar Lovett apparently said, straight away against Mayweather, he should have a tune-up against Terence Crawford.
Holy shit.
That's my winner right there.
Oh.
Yeah, tune up against Crawford. Russell Hodder, McGregor to KO Floyd inside 5 rounds. Sonny Edwards, but brother of Charlie Edwards, I think. If McGregor catches Mayweather with a clean left straight uppercut, then it's curtains. Totally agree, says Lady O. Lady O has been talking some shit on Twitter lately. She wanted Paul Smith to win as well, which is a bad mark in my book anyway. Stephen Watson, Mayweather has never been in the ring with an animal like McGregor. Mayweather is the most overrated boxer ever. He's going to get it. Andrew G sent that one in. Brendan Schaub has guaranteed Conor will not only land a punch but win rounds. He's betting 100k on it. Are you game? He says to somebody. Tommy Roosh, talking about McGregor as well. Simon Lucas has nominated Joe Gallagher and Paul Smith for looking like smug wankers at the weigh-in. Yeah, they did. Shane Soenpal, praying that Paul Smith wins that belt tomorrow. Put so much into the sport, as have all of his family, and I always back them. Hashtag I'm the new. One for Boxing Kingdom. No, we can't have them because they're a troll. Jack Bones, rooting for Paul Smith tonight. Would love to see him win a world title, strap over his shoulder. No one deserves it more. Okay, Jack Bones. Faris Mohammed. Not sure who he's nominated. Sorry, Faris. Anthony Fowler, gutted for Paul Smith. People will slag him off, but he showed that he's world class. Always gives a good account of himself at world level. Geordie McDonough, belly of the week for the Swifty Smith opponent. Didn't see this, Andy. Stephen Smith, apparently he was fighting a midget.
Yeah, I've seen a bit. Yeah, it was fucking awful. It was just typical these gym fighters we're seeing getting used quite a lot in UK, new in Germany, and that. It's fucking awful. But obviously, it was a kind of sweetener. You know, the boys get married shortly, needed a wee payday for the stag do and that, the hookers and the type of thing, strippers and that. You know, so needs must.
Brian King nominated Alex Chamberlain. Alex sent out a bit of public information before the fight. For anyone who bets on boxing, Paul Smith is a huge price at 5-1 to beat Tyrone Zoiga. Should be very competitive and entertaining. Hashtag value bet. Alex, no. Also, New Age Boxing. He's talking about Smith being fat. Yeah, I can endorse that. Taz said, I think Smith can do it. He got the experience and he will be up for this. Maybe a late stoppage or points. Would be nice, says Boxing Gossip. Oh, fuck them. Taz, frankly, after the 2 Abraham losses, Smith deserves to win the belt. From watching his IFL interview, he seems like a really kind guy. Belly of the week from Tony Hines for Michael Buffer for announcing Kovalev's knockouts wrong. And finally, Hassini Jr., that's Hamada on the Boxing Coalition, has nominated Conor Benn. Conor Benn gave a shout out to his dad. Happy birthday to this legend. He is the OG. How many retweets can we get for this? Dark Destroyer. And as Cam, the host of the Boxing Coalition, pointed out, it's Father's Day. Nigel's birthday is in January. Great son you are. He's got that one a bit mixed up, Andy. Happy birthday. Oh dear, Conor. Right, Andy, any you want to throw in?
I've got nothing, mate, but I want to vote for the guy that I gave the nomination to. I forget what it was for again. What was it again?
Who did you go? Oh, that was Michael Gaethje. That was Leven Lovett, I think.
Oh, I'm taking that one.
Tune up against Terence Crawford.
That's the one. I want that one.
Let me just flick back and see if I can find this one to give this one pure justice. Yeah, that's right. It was Lamar Lovett. He said it would be the wise choice. The wise choice. What do you think, Dave? Who are you going for?
I'm voting for him as well.
Well, that's two for Lamar Lovett. Yeah, I was going to go for Anthony Fowler, but I think Lovett is a brilliant one. So it's academic, Rob. Let's see how you're sounding. Do you want to just give us your name for Value of the Week?
Yeah, I want to. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to nominate the guy. I don't even know his name, but left a comment on my Facebook when I said that a fella with 6 weeks training is not going to finish the fight with Floyd Mayweather. And he said, if you knew anything, you did your research, you'd know that Conor McGregor was in Crumlin Boxing Club when he was a kid. So,
we have a slight echo. Do you want to give us a name?
Yeah, I'll go for the Crawford guy and I'll jump off, guys. I'll catch us next week.
Thanks, Rob. A bit strange. Rob was fine throughout the call. We seem to have a bit of an echo off him. Right, that'll do, guys. Lamar Lovett, congratulations. We don't have anything more to give you, but our thanks and praise for being such a great contributor. That's it, guys. If there's anything else, then tough shit. We need to get out of here. Andy, thanks for coming on. Thanks for Hater Dave for coming on. Rob Kelly, Joe O'Neill was here from irishboxing.com. We also had Big Russ. We had Terry Dooley. We had the Guru, Tommy Allen. We did have Donnie at the beginning, Andy, didn't we? I think, am I right?
He's on the boat, mate. Hopefully it's capsized and he's swimming to shore against the current.
Yeah, Donnie, hope you're okay. Well, that'll do then. Thanks everyone for listening. Adam Smith was on as well. We'll catch you all next week where we'll be discussing the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight. So if you want to come on and talk about that,
one time only.
Yeah, you might think it's a good fight. It's a shit fest. You might have questions. You might have comments. You might be a little bit concerned. Come and join us and we'll discuss it together because it's a really weak week next week. See you later. Bye.